All right, good evening. It is 6 o'clock, and so I'm going to call this meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please welcome Principal Michelle Lord and our Corinth students who will lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome. It's so good to have students back here leading us in the pledge.
Good evening. I want to take this time to thank the board for having us here today. The students that are representing us at Corinth this evening are the members of our Junior Master Gardeners Club. They stay after school, some of them once a month, to help maintain the south side of our flower beds. They also, Junior Master Gardeners inspires youth to be of service to others through service learning and leadership development projects. Students involved in the program develop critical thinking skills and the ability to identify community concerns and take action to address them through individual group projects. It is important for me to share and embrace with you our school-wide theme this year as a community, family, and as one Shawnee mission. Our theme is growing and blooming together at Corinth. Together we will grow our greatness and live life in full bloom. This theme is in honor and remembrance of our beloved Olivia Bloomfield, as she was part of many activities as a dragon, one of them being the Junior Master Gardeners Club. And she certainly lived her life in full bloom each and every day. It is important for us to band together and work to find ways in which we can all grow and live life in full bloom with kindness, compassion, respect, responsibility, safety, and so much more. Thank you so much for having us. I'm going to have them introduce themselves real quick.
Hello, my name is Noah, and one thing that I love about gardening is getting to grow my own food.
Hello, my name is Juliana, and one of the things I love about gardening is seeing some flowers that what I have planted produce.
My name is William, and I like eating the fruits and vegetables.
Hello, I'm Brady, and I like eating my produce.
Hi, I'm Hughes, and I'm in grade 5.
Hi, I'm Bruce, and I like growing tomatoes.
Hi, I'm Kai, and I like to see everything happen.
Hi, I'm Sadie, and I'm in 5th grade.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm in 1st grade.
Hi, I'm Naraya, and I'm in 3rd grade, and I like to garden because my mom helps me with it.
Hi, my name is Ty, and I like to have stuff that we grow ourselves so we don't have to pay for it.
All right. Again, thank you all for being here. And I'm not sure, some of you might even be staying to help introduce some of our Star Award winners. But all right, I need to seek adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Goodburn.
Second, Owsley.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Mr. Stratton will not be able to join us this evening, but sends his regards. Item 1.4 and 1.5 are approval of the minutes. Unless there are changes, I seek a motion to approve both 1.4 and 1.5.
So move, Borgman.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Hembry.
All right. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. This brings us to 2.1, Superintendent Report. Dr. Hubbard.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sinclair. So we are thrilled to recognize 16 Shawnee Mission School District seniors who have been named semifinalists in the National Merit Program. These students took the 2021 preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying tests to qualify. Out of 1.5 million test takers, only 16,000 were named semifinalists. These students now have the opportunity to advance in competition for nearly $28 million in scholarship offers next spring. We will include a link in the recap to list all of these honorees. Congratulations. Early this month, we were excited to launch our second year of Read Across SMSD. This celebration of books encourages reading for all ages and supports the district's strategic plan belief that our community's strength is derived from its diversity. This month, we focused on the theme, Find the Right Words. We had an amazing group of Shawnee students help us explore the topic, and I want to take a moment to have them share their stories with you.
Hello, Shawnee Mission. I'm Dr. Michelle Hubbard, Superintendent of Schools, and I'm so excited for us to kick off another year of Read Across SMSD. The September theme is Find the Right Words. The books highlighted this month help us all think about how it can be hard to express ourselves and what we feel. It's okay if sometimes it takes us just a little bit of time to figure it out. The September elementary book is Amy Wu and the Warm Welcome by Kat Zhang. In this book, Amy is excited to welcome a new student to her class who is from China. It takes some thinking and some help from her family, but she finally finds a way to help him feel at home in his new school and community. I'm visiting Shawnee Elementary today with Natasha and Daniel. Daniel, I understand that you were once new to Shawnee. Can you tell me a little bit about your story?
Yes, Dr. Hubbard. I moved to Shawnee from Guatemala in 3rd grade. When I got here, I was nervous because I didn't know any English, but people helped me feel welcome.
I moved here from Mexico last year, and I was very nervous about starting at a new school because I didn't know anyone.
We have a lot of students in our school who are from different countries around the world. In our cafeteria, we have flags representing all of the places where our students are from. We even have a flag from Guatemala, where I'm from.
Your name is important.
Your name is important.
Every day we have morning meetings when we start the school year or welcome a new student. We practice saying everyone's name the correct way. Then we take a little time to getting to know each other every single day. One of the best parts of coming to school was knowing every day I had friends in my class who would help me if I needed it.
Our school has student ambassadors that get to welcome new students to Shawnee. When they get here, we give them a t-shirt and we make sure to talk to them throughout the school year. It's exciting to meet new students. We always want them to know we're better at Shawnee because they are here.
That's fantastic, Daniel and Natasha. Thanks for everything you and your classmates are doing to find the right ways to tell new students they are welcome. And most importantly, thank you both for sharing your stories with us. I want to take a moment to thank NEA Shawnee Mission and the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation for their support for Read Across SMSD.
Thank you, Dr. Hubbard. We are proud to support this chance for all of our students to see themselves reflected in books or read about worlds and characters that might be different from them.
You're right, Jill, and we are thrilled that through the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation, every Shawnee Mission school will have Read Across SMSD titles in their libraries. Let's read across SMSD.
I want to thank everyone at Shawnee for getting us off to a great start with Read Across SMSD, but especially Natasha and Daniel. They were so fun to film with. And they truly believe they are rock stars right now, and I think they are. So we're proud to work in partnership with NEA Shawnee Mission to present Read Across SMSD. This year, the program is generously supported by the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation. Through the foundation, books related to each month's theme will be provided to each Shawnee Mission school. So please join us in thanking Shawnee Mission Education Foundation for its support. And we'll include a link in the recap for anyone hoping to read across SMSD this year. We're looking forward to the fall breakfast that is taking place later this week. The benefit event takes place on Thursday, September 22nd at the Overland Park Convention Center, beginning with coffee and conversation at 7, followed by 7:30 a.m. breakfast and a program. We will be highlighting students, staff, and stories from across the district. I'm looking forward to joining a conversation on stage with several Shawnee Mission students. Reservations start at $50 and will include a link in the recap so everyone can reserve their spot at the event. And this is just another way to support the foundation as you saw in the Read Across SMSD, support us every day. Shawnee Mission is hosting a bilingual community resource night tomorrow to celebrate the start of a new year and build meaningful relationships. The event will focus on resources for planning for student futures, health, and work resources for family, and opportunities available in the Shawnee Mission School District. The event will be held from 5 to 7 p.m. on September 20th, 2022, here at the Center for Academic Achievement, and will include a link in the recap with more details. Just a few days ago, one of our high schools hit a really large milestone. Shawnee Mission North, the first high school in Shawnee Mission, celebrated its 100-year anniversary. The school community celebrated with a parade, homecoming events, an open house, and a ribbon cutting to kick off the next 100 years. So many across our community, including students and staff, joined in on this celebration. As one Shawnee Mission, we congratulate Shawnee Mission North on a century of education. Earlier this month, J.J. Wanamaker, Shawnee Mission South cross country and track and field coach, was honored as a Blue KC coach with character. This honor recognizes individuals who, through leadership on and off the field, make our community a better place to live, work, and play. As part of his recognition, Wanamaker was invited to throw out a ceremonial pitch at a Royals game. Congratulations to Coach Wanamaker and the Shawnee Mission South school community on this recognition. We are proud to share recent honors announced for two new outstanding educators in our district. Jordan Burke, kindergarten teacher at Corinth Elementary, and Emma Weil, an English language arts teacher at Trail Ridge, are the District Horizon Award nominees. They are now in the running for a state honor that recognizes Kansas teachers who perform in a way that distinguishes them as outstanding. They learned the news and surprise announcements in their classrooms last week. We are so proud to have these talented individuals working with Shawnee Mission students as they begin their careers. And I'm excited for us to recognize the first two Shawnee Mission All-Stars this school year. To give you an idea of the kind of All-Stars they are, I want to mention they were both honorees in the Kansas Teacher of the Year program. First, I'll invite Blake Ravel, principal at Indian Hills, up to the podium to introduce our first honoree of the evening.
Okay, to kick off this year, we get to add a student to the mix. I'm super excited about that. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Blake Ravel, principal at Indian Hills Middle School. Tonight, I have the distinct honor of introducing a Shawnee Mission All-Star from IHMS. Shawnee Mission All-Star nominees are individuals that go above and beyond to ensure all students achieve their personal best. All-Stars must also embody the mission of Shawnee Mission School District by serving our learners, our teams, and our community with excellence. Those who know Ray Royal, last year's district nominee for Kansas Teacher of the Year at the secondary level, know that she is well deserving of an All-Star award. Ms. Royal serves as a building leadership team member, a cross-curricular team member, a teacher mentor, a cross-curricular team leader, a teacher mentor, serves as an onboarding instructor for new team members to the district, just to name a few of the ways she actively makes an impact on our learning community. When it comes to student impact and instructional practice, it would be best to hear from one of Ms. Royal's former students. So please help me welcome Clara Brenneman, current Shawnee Mission East freshman and former Indian Hills Knight, to say a few words about Ms. Royal.
Hi, my name is Clara, like you said, and I'm currently a freshman at Shawnee Mission East, and this is my first year without having Ms. Royal as a teacher in the building. And when I first met Ms. Royal, I was going online for my first day of 7th grade, and I met her in my nighttime teacher. And when I first got in there, I just saw her as a peppy, go-get-it spirited teacher whom I disliked for the first week of school. But obviously, I wouldn't be here if my opinion hadn't changed. As her positivity started to grow on me, she brought a bright outlook in my life and everyone around me, just bringing some joy into my day. She was just a happy person when I didn't think I had a lot to be happy about. As the year progressed and we started learning, Miss Royal taught in a way that I understood. She taught us at a fast pace that I could keep up with, relating math into real-world situations. She taught in a way that everyone could understand, and in my second semester, I ended with 100% in her class. Miss Royal didn't just give me confidence in my math skills, she gave me confidence in myself and who I am, and supported me and my passions, and now has one of my art pieces hanging in her classroom and a necklace that I made with my dad on her neck. She didn't know this, but she helped me get through my 7th grade year when I was struggling the most and I didn't think I could. She's my favorite person, and even when she wasn't my teacher, I still went to go see her during my passing periods just to bring back some of the positivity she gave me every day for a year. I honestly don't know how I'm going to get through high school without her. Ms. Royal was my favorite teacher in 7th grade, my favorite teacher in 8th grade, and my favorite teacher in 9th grade. And I don't think I will ever find a teacher to beat her. Even as I continue into high school, no one will ever be able to outdo her, and I will never forget the impact she had on my life. Thank you.
Like I said, way better when the students get up and talk about their teachers. So, thank you, Clara. It's time for a brief video honoring Miss Royal and her Shawnee Mission All-Star recognition.
What makes Miss Royal an all-star is her just dedication to building relationships with her students. We all want to do that as teachers, and I think we all make that one of our biggest priorities, but she acts it out in levels that I have rarely seen in the classroom and kind of gives the rest of us something to aspire to.
The part that excites me about her is like her excitedness and willing to try something new. Even if it's not perfect yet, it's like I'm never gonna get there if I don't at least try it, which I think is an incredible role model mindset for the students that we have in our building.
With her, she really sticks it into you and teaches you a way that, like, I don't know, no one else has ever taught me that way, which is nice.
Like most teachers, you walk in and you just sit in like the chair and just pop on the board. Miss Royal kind of gets you like kind of excited to be in her classroom.
When I just pop in to class, and this happens almost every time, Miss Royal always looks up and, oh, Mr. Rovella is here, and then she immediately engages me and the kids in some sort of math. So I get put on the spot every time I'm in there, and it's fantastic because it keeps me sharp too.
I couldn't have gotten through math if it wasn't for her, and to have that such a sweet person and understanding person as my math teacher, the class I've struggled with my whole life, it was life-changing and amazing for me.
I taught Miss Royal when she was in 7th grade at Mission Valley Middle School. Ray, when she was a 7th grader, was a very spunky individual. She loved to talk, she loved to work with groups, she loved being right. And I knew when we saw that when they put out a list of teachers who were coming to Indian Hills and I saw her name, W-R-A-Y-E, I thought, there's only one Ray who spells her name like that. And I taught her 2 decades before, and I'm so glad, so excited that we have someone with that much energy, that much enthusiasm, that much passion.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Ray Royal up. A very most deserving Shawnee Mission All-Star.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Well, I would like to preface this by saying that in the 2 years that Clara Brenneman was in Indian Hills, we shed a few tears together over sweet notes that she wrote me or other ways that, sending her off to high school. So leading up to this night, she goes, "No crying, Miss Royal." I did not succeed, and she has already pointed that out. But it's for the best reason. I am beyond grateful to be a part of this celebration this evening, but what makes it even more special is the district's effort to incorporate the main reason I'm so passionate about my job, which is my students. So thank gosh. Thank you for giving my students a platform to share their voices and for sharing that with me and with the community. A special thank you to Clara Brenneman, a student that I had when she was a 7th grader who is now a freshman. Clara, thank you for being here with me this evening. Thank you for embodying why being a teacher is so special and empowering. You once wrote me a letter that said, 7th grade was a really hard time for me, and I think the only reason I made it through is because of you. Whenever I was having a bad mental health day, you made me feel less alone, seen, and heard, and you continued to do that this year. I've never had a teacher make such an influence on my life like you did. Clara, I think one of the things I've always wanted to tell you is that I hope you know the powerful impact that you and all students have on us teachers every single day. You made me feel seen and heard and appreciated in the same way. The art piece that you made that hangs in my room is a daily reminder of the love and fulfillment that this job brings me. And the necklace that I'm wearing, your first ever jewelry piece, is more special to me than I can put into words. There are days where being a teacher is extremely challenging, but my students, you, are what makes everything so worth it. To my principal, Blake Ravel, thank you. I sincerely appreciate you being here tonight and for your consistent support in every capacity. Your leadership, positivity, and effort you put into building a positive school culture for our entire community makes a world of difference. I sincerely love my job, and you play a very large part in that. And finally, thank you to the Shawnee Mission School District for putting together an award that recognizes teachers and the work that we do on a daily basis. Thank you for letting teachers know that we are seen and heard in the same way we strive to make our students feel every day. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ray. I now invite Michelle Lord, principal at Corinth Elementary, to introduce our next All-Star.
Kids. And you.
Good evening again. It is my honor to introduce to you Amy Soxie as a Shawnee Mission All-Star. There will be a video, of course, to highlight Amy this evening, but if you knew the extraordinary influence Ms. Soxie has on the entire community, then you know there is a long line of people waiting to share accolades of her success and influence. I would like to share what one person, Haley Jeffrey, shared with me. Amy truly meets the students where they are at in their learning style and gives them the confidence to learn their way, no matter how that is. She has the ability to see teaching and learning from a multidimensional lens. Learning doesn't just come from a textbook or worksheet or the teacher telling you what to do. Learning can come from experiences. She provides a classroom environment that gives students the confidence they need to execute their creative ideas. And she also provides opportunities for kids that expand their learning and thinking exponentially. From pen pal programs, class newsletters, tough debate topics, podcasts, and more. I also have Miss Sadie Atlas here with me this evening. She was a student of Miss Soxie's for 2 years and frequents her room now to help teach math problems to students. Sadie is here this evening to share her thoughts regarding Miss Soxie. There is power in students sharing their voice and perspective, and I'm honored to have Sadie here tonight sharing her voice regarding Corinth and Shawnee Mission's dynamic educator, Miss Amy Soxie.
Hi, I'm Sadie. I'm in 5th grade, and I go to Corinth Elementary. I've known Miss Soxie for 4 years now. My brother had her for 3rd grade, and then I also had Miss Soxie for 3rd grade. We were such a great class that she looped with us from 3rd grade to 4th grade. Miss Soxie deserves this award so much because she is so kind, inclusive, and creative. She let us do so many fun projects, including making a podcast. It was called Stay in the Loop with the Soxie Group, and you can find it on Spotify. We also entered the Battle of the Brains competition at Science City, and we had pen pals from Kansas City International Academy so we could get to know kids at another school. Another way Miss Soxie shines is that she makes sure that everybody is able to learn how they learn best and that everybody is comfortable in her classroom. She doesn't only care for her students when they're inside her classroom. She has shown up for us so many times outside of school too, at sports, at plays, and at other big moments. My brother Max says he remembers Miss Soxie's enthusiasm, how she always cared so much about each and every student and what they were interested in. I've experienced her caring and kindness myself. I'm super excited that Miss Soxie got recognized for this award, and I'm honored that I get to talk about her tonight. Congratulations to the very special and spectacular Miss Soxie.
think the community already knows this, but one thing is just that she's all in for kids. And you are going to know that whether she has your child a student in her classroom or not, she's going to wrap around every single student in this building. And she's committed to working with the colleagues in order to make that happen. She is seen in more than one way in this building. She's a leader. She serves on site council. She is a part of our Deep Equity team. She works with pen pals for our Kansas City school district. And she's always finding ways to collaborate outside of her classroom.
It felt fun to be in her class, and I was excited every day I woke up to come and go to school because I was in Miss Soxie's class.
In the case of our daughter Olivia, she had physical needs, and she also had cognitive needs that required differentiation, and Amy did that so gracefully and truly encouraged each kid in the class to do their best and to use their own gifts and talents to excel.
What makes her qualified for this award is definitely because her kindness, her motivation to make you the best student you can be, the motivation to try your best and forget the rest and just make the best day and best year possible for her students.
She is equally as great of a teacher as she is a person. Something I'm just always so impressed with Amy is how she builds such a classroom community. She makes every kiddo feel so valued, so loved. It's just such a fun thing to observe and watch.
She was always positive, and when we were walking in, she would always be waiting at the door and waving hi to us.
Amy is an incredibly outstanding teacher for many reasons. She is one of the most caring and compassionate people I know. She also is so inclusive. She makes all of her kids feel special in every single way. I know they all get incredibly individualized attention, and she is a master at making her kids feel important.
I'd like to welcome Miss Amy Soxie.
Wow. Thank you so much, Michelle and Sadie. Those words were so beautiful, and that video was so beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you so much to the board and to Shawnee Mission for this incredible honor. I joined the Shawnee Mission School District in 1999 as a kindergartner in Dr. Leanne Neal's magical and inspiring classroom, and my love of learning and all things education began. From there, with incredible support and encouragement from my parents and sister, my love of learning and pride for SMSD has only grown. Our district is one truly committed to the people within it. I am so grateful for the meaningful relationships with my own teachers, and now the ones I've created as a teacher myself. Thank you to the best teammates and staff at Corinth Elementary, my principals throughout the years, Michelle Lord and Chris Lowe, who have served as the best role models and advocates, as well as every single member of our district that makes it so special. And above all, thank you to my students and their families. I hold my time and memories with all of you so dear. Thank you for letting me be a part of your lives.
I'm going to go off script for just a minute because I want to just point out a couple things. These two ladies were our Teachers of the Year. Their classrooms are so dynamic and amazing, so it's just fun to be there. But I think it's really exciting and kind of unique that we have these two amazing Teachers of the Year that are both Shawnee Mission grads. And I'm sure I was going to comment on Dr. Neal being Amy's teacher. And I also think there's another one that I can point out. I think Molly Fast at Shawnee Mission South taught you both math. So I'm sure there are others that I just don't know, but it's just fun to see the connections, throughout the years and all the amazing influences that teachers have for years and years to come. So congratulations to both of you, and thank you all for being here tonight. And that concludes my superintendent report.
Thank you again for all of you being here, and congratulations. All right. We will continue on with board reports, and I will begin with Ms. Hembry. This is agenda item 2.2. If you could give us an update.
Sure, I have updates for the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation. First off, Dr. Hubbard kind of stole mine. All breakfast all the time. Thursday at 7:30 is the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation annual breakfast.
Great.
Folks who want to sign up for it, it's at smef.org. There's going to be an exciting announcement that I'm not privileged to share, but I'm excited to hear. So be there. And then for Shawnee Mission Area Council of PTAs, I was just going to provide an update that they have an annual Presidents and Principals breakfast, which happened last week. That's where all of the PTA leaders and their principals come together to get updates from the district, legislative updates. It was a really excellent event, and people were palpably happy to be together in person, breaking bread or frittatas or whatever the case was. The clothing exchange is up and at 'em. It has a little bit of a different schedule than in the past. It is Thursday evenings and Friday mornings every other week. So if folks are interested in taking advantage of that, definitely give a look at the website before you head out. And then I was also going to note that the October 3rd meeting of SMAC PTA is going to have Shawnee Berry as a guest speaker. She is on the National PTA and is one of the main representatives for the mental health work from the National PTA. So lots of good stuff happening. All of it's on their website, which is smac-pta.org, SMAC.
All right. Thank you very much for that update.
Just real quick, I'd like to add, I think this is something that's so simple that we really don't think about, but as they look for donations for the clothing center, one of the main things they're really in need of are plastic bags. Like when families come in, they get this handful of plastic bags and are able to fill them. And it's something I know all of us, when we make our trips to the grocery store or Walmart, Target, wherever you choose to shop, all those plastic bags you probably have in a cabinet somewhere, the clothing exchange could really use those. So I started this weekend gathering all of mine, and I would hope that you all could do the same thing for them.
Great ad. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I'm going to turn to Ms. Owsley for your update on the KSB Legislative Committee.
So the Legislative Committee met a few weeks ago to go over our updates for the platform for this year. A lot of things are returning, so a lot of it stays the same, with some emphasis on the jurisdiction that the State Board of Education has under the state constitution and that local boards of governance have through that. And then a main point from really everyone across the state was special education funding and getting that level up. We have a lot of different needs throughout the state, but that was a continuous, that was a thing that was brought up by every legislative committee member from across the state. Once we put that together, we did some final tweaking, and now KSB is taking the platform kind of on a tour throughout the state. So they were here today to give an update to our local legislators and some administrators and a couple of the board members, and to receive feedback and input from them on what they anticipate coming up in the next legislative session, and if there's anything KSB can do to be supportive of public education from the perspective of supporting legislators who support public education. And it will then be voted on in its final form. If anything happens to update it after this, statewide tour, it'll be voted on in its final form at the KASB conference. So it's a good document, and it was a really productive meeting that we had.
Great. Mm-hmm. So I have a process question. So as a board, we have our fall retreat coming up early October, so we would have a chance not only to work on our own legislative platform, but to look at the KASB platform too, and maybe discuss and identify any potential feedback before that gets voted on.
Right.
Correct.
If we had some additional feedback to provide, we could do that. I don't imagine that there'll be significant changes, but we could provide tweaks. And then one of the other things is that the KSB platform is the platform that all the districts support together, and so our own legislative platform may have things that are important to us that we face as an issue as a district that perhaps other districts with different needs don't face. So it might not be a part of the KSB platform, but just as important for us to include it.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Borgman, KSB Nominating Committee.
No updates, thank you.
Okay. All right, Policy Review Committee, Ms. Goodburn.
Yes, excuse me. We have 6 policies for a first read tonight, 3.04 to 3.09. And I believe our next meeting of the Policy Review Committee is, I have it October 3rd at 3:30, I believe. So that's it.
Okay. I'll take the Finance and Facilities update. Really, our next meeting is October 27th, and the committee has been reviewing the work of the Budget Committee hearings as well as the progress of the bond. So we'll continue to have those conversations. Next meeting, October 27th. All right, then our real world learning team, Ms. Boyd-Nerona, any updates there?
Nothing definitive, but there are ongoing efforts to reach out to the community and to keep building the relationships with stakeholders.
Great. All right. Thank you, everybody. All right, that brings us to 2.3, Board Financial Report. Dr. Hubbard.
So the reports are as of August the 31st. We really have no anomalies and not many transactions, but that'll be kicking up as we have our first payroll in September for the school year. And you'll see the SR2 and SR3. So this year's retention payment will reduce most of the funds in SR2. We have a really minor, small amount of money that we still need to spend in SR2. And then we are beginning spending out of SR3 at this point. So,
any questions or comments there? Okay. Yep, Ms. Housley?
I have a budget question. It's not necessarily related to this, but could I ask it at this time? I didn't. One of the things that we had discussed was the cost of the CPI is changed to the funding formula. And I was curious what that CPI adjustment would look like for the district, what it would mean for us. And so I'm not looking for an answer tonight, but if it would be possible for us to get some estimates on, there is some concern that perhaps there might be attempts to change that CPI increase. And so it would be nice to know what that would mean for us and for our Johnson County partners so that we know what the impact, if that was changed for the area, would be. Thanks.
Russ, is that something you can answer now, or you want to bring it to the next meeting?
Yeah, I can. We'll run estimates obviously when we build our budget for 23-24, because you're right, it will be based on the CPI. Most of our base increase has been right around 3%. The CPI is well over. It's about averaging like 4.5%. They'll do it on the 3 prior years, and so right now that rolling number we're keeping track of it is about 4.5%. They'll base it on next. They'll cut it off next April.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. 2.4, Briarwood Tomahawk Boundary Process Work Group Update. Dr. Hubbard.
Yeah, so as you all know, we've been talking about this conversation for a while now, but our work group just convened for their first meeting, and we have Rob Schwartz and Gina Wallace with RSP and Associates, and Mr. Stubblefield and Dr. Neal to give us an update. I just want to remind everyone before they start, and you're going to hear this multiple times, but this is all draft work. Very much a draft at this point, and could change 2 or 3 more times before it's finalized. So I just want to be really clear about that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Hubbard. Thank you, Madam Board President. Tonight we're going to give an update on the Briarwood Tomahawk Boundary Change Process Work Group. It has been a pleasure to work with this team. They've been very engaging. They've asked very thoughtful questions. They're very smart individuals. And they have done a really good job of digging into the data and really being genuine about the whole process. So they've been a pleasure to work with. The only time they've been disgruntled, honestly, is when we scheduled a meeting with them on the night of the Chiefs game. So, and when I say we scheduled, I mean I scheduled it. So I'm going to beat Dr. Neal to that because she did throw me underneath the bus during the meeting. So I did schedule it, and that won't happen again. But we are here to again present some of the draft concepts along with RSP. They've been a great thought partner in this whole process, providing us with all the information that we need, getting back to us in a very timely manner. And right now, I'm going to turn it over to RSP to present the concepts to you.
Thank you, David. Again, this is going to be kind of a 100,000-foot view. You may have specific questions. Again, draft. You're going to see some of the tables, some of the maps, and you're going to think this is final, but it's draft. Obviously, you hired RSP, and we're deep into what this process could mean. Here's this update tonight about what this process is, bring you up to speed from way back in April of this year. What has the boundary work group worked on? From this meeting, we will have a public input meeting on October 4th at Briarwood. That's where we'll get more insight into what the community thinks about what this work group has developed. You can also see there's another work group meeting and then another public input before it comes back to you in November for the recommendation from this work group. In this process, there's defined roles. You can go back and read this. It's pretty specific so that we're kind of a well-run machine on what this means with who does what. Wrapped around this entire process is this ACE concept. This has continually come up in our work group conversations, focusing on what's the academics, what's the cultural elements in each of these two attendance areas, and then the realities of what happens in 25-26 when we have a brand new Tomahawk Elementary building. Early on in this process, we had boundary guiding principles, and you'll note none of them are prioritized. So this allows the work group to dig into these elements and understand how are they impacting what we see for any of the concepts that have been developed. So fiscal responsibility, the enrollment balance, including exposure to diverse cultures, having a long-term solution, and recognizing and considering all students' academic, safety, social, and emotional needs. We have different parameters that are wrapped around that as well. What I wanted to focus on is one of the two bullet points down on the bottom under the boundary goals. When we moved from boundary work group meeting 1 to meeting number 2, our conversations for a yet to be designed building, right? So Tomahawk is right now, it's a concept. We know it's happening. We have the dollars allocated, but we don't know what that building will look like. And as we had conversations about the central-based learning program that's there now and what that might look like in the future, we've done some recalibration to what number of students would be served in that building. And so we've targeted that Tomahawk for reside students would be about 380 students. So this is update with what was presented to the work group committee. And then with Briarwood, we ideally would be about 520 reside students. I wanted to bring to your attention Briarwood. We've known it's special. We hear that from the Briarwood community. But when we look at this across all elementary schools, one thing that's very notable, the dotted line is our range of capacity, maximum capacity for each of the elementary buildings. Between 525 and 575, Briarwood's the only building that exceeds that maximum capacity of 575. So I want to bring that to your attention why Tomahawk and the changes that we're talking about tonight need to take place. You'll see visuals in this presentation that are zoomed in specific to Tomahawk and Briarwood. That's our focus. We're not going anywhere beyond those two existing boundaries to create what the potential new boundaries will be for these two buildings. We give the current information as it relates to the students that are there now and what's forecasted through 26-27. You'll see a breakdown in one table with the race and ethnicity. And then the third table where we're looking at some of the demographics of English as a second language and free and reduced lunch students. That's our baseline for our starting point. We created a visual to know specifically where the concentration of students are. The orange and red represents where that cluster is, and you can see it's south of 87th Street where the greatest number of students reside in these two attendance boundaries. We also focused on, again, with the free and reduced lunch, where are those students? So as we're making any sort of changes, how do we have an appropriate balance that would be similar in each of those two buildings? Again, the red areas illustrate where we have the greatest population of free and reduced lunch students. We also started to focus on transportation and how you are geographically related to the buildings. So the green represents the areas that would be within 1/2 mile of Briarwood. The tan, those that would be within 1/2 mile of Tomahawk. And then the semi-color, the blending of those two colors, that's kind of your equidistant between both of those buildings. So again, trying to provide some visuals and context. This visual focuses on, again, that target capacity, the dotted line of 525 to 575, and what that means with our enrollment and what's projected in each of those buildings without having any of the boundary change, again, the current situation. This, naturally, I'm going to turn this over to Jenna, and she's going to walk you through the elements of what we've evolved to in this process with the work group.
Thank you, Rob. All right, so now we're going to kind of go into where the work group did progress between the two meetings. In both meetings, we presented 2 different drafted concepts, so a total of 4 concepts that were kind of floated around the room, drawn on, sketched on, wrote what they did and didn't like, all leading into the concept we're going to present tonight. That's going to be, at this point in the process, the one that has the majority of likes and that kind of stuff. So going into number 2, work group number 2, we kind of focused on, do we want a north-south split or some sort of a diagonal southeast to or southwest to northeast kind of split there. So what we're looking at here is a progress into concept 1A. And at this point in work group number 2, we had over 80% support of 1A leading into this discussion, as well as public input when we get there. So I'm going to briefly go over what concept 1A is, and then I'll get more into the data and what builds into this concept. So in this case, we have in the tan light color, that's going to be Tomahawk, and the green is Briarwood. What we're using here is, starting up in the northeast, we have 79th Street and Row, kind of coming down to Knoll, and then Woodson Drive and 87th Street as the main roads used in this boundary. So we kind of see this diagonal cut that splits between the two schools. In this case, for our projected boundaries, we're having around 540 students at Briarwood and 370 to 380 at Tomahawk. Those 2 areas that are highlighted in red, those are the areas that in meeting 2 with the work group, we were still kind of discussing. We bounce these areas back off each other a lot of the times, and we're going to still kind of work on finishing up that boundary of where we like it and where it fits within the parameters, where it fits best within boundary goals and such. So we just wanted to highlight those, the draft part of this, the work in progress, and everything like that. As far as our data here, we have a multitude of different tables here that break down the different demographics and the projections for this concept 1A boundary. Some of these main highlights for our race and ethnicity, we're not shifting from the current boundaries. In any case, more than 3% in any of those racial demographics, so we're keeping consistent within that first table. In the second table, the demographic analysis, we're showing here what the current percentage of ESL and FRL students are, and then in the concept 1A. In this case, we can see that in Briarwood, we go from 16.2% FRL to 16.5%, and then Tomahawk, 27.9% to 23.3%. So with changes of kind of numerator and denominator, we're shifting those percentages to have a better balance between those schools, and similar with ESL students as well. Lastly, and that kind of table 3 and 4 goes into what would be the potentially impact of students if this boundary goes into play. So if we're looking at when Tomahawk opens, 25-26, this is going to be the kindergarten through second grade students that would potentially be in the school and would be impacted with the new boundaries go into play. So in this case, we have 57 total K through second graders impacted to kind of create this long-range transition from Briarwood into Tomahawk there. So with that, I kind of want to go through what some of the committee and the work group liked about this concept. So one thing that we talked about is that only ensuring that Briarwood students transition to Tomahawk. That's not some students come in, for some students go out. So no Tomahawk students would be impacted in this. In this case, the geography of having major roads as the breaks, and then also kind of balancing between those two areas highlighted in red is still in discussion. We're pulling Briarwood from the north and the south, so it kind of balances on both sides of the district boundary there. And then just kind of getting into that data, they liked the balance of the projections and the demographics and that sort of thing. But likewise, this is still a draft. We're still working through this, and we want to hear your guys' comments and concerns. Moving forward, we do have public input coming up next, and then another work group meeting, and then also always more back pocket work that RSP and the district will do to finalize these reports and everything like that. So yeah, next steps here, we have that public input October 4th, and that's going to be at Briarwood. And then our next boundary work group meeting is October 27th. The public input, we do have, so far, most of the work groups said they're going to come to our public input. So we're going to have a presentation. We'll have large maps distributed around Briarwood. We're going to talk with the public and answer any questions. And then also have an electronic survey also. So anyone who can't come to the public input sessions for this first one will have an electronic survey that gives the same information, and then they have another avenue to provide their comment and their feedback there. At this point, we can stand for any questions or comments, and if you have anything that you want to relay back to the work group for our next meeting, we can pass that information along as well.
I want to just start real quickly by thanking the work group for their commitment to this. Boundary changes are never easy. It's really difficult on families. I think especially parents, more so than kids, but kids are very resilient and usually do really well with boundary changes. But so just thank you to all of those that are watching, that are part of that work group, and those that aren't part of the work group that are patiently letting the process work. We definitely appreciate that. I guess I just want to make some initial comments real quickly. We don't want to balance these two schools equally because there is a fairly large specialized special education program at Tomahawk, and we always want to leave a little bit of room just for the resources that those programs take. So it would never be a true 50-50 split of numbers. So I just want to kind of give you that visual. And then secondly, this is just my own personal comment. I still personally believe the Briarwood number is too high. I would really task this group to go back and look one more time at some numbers and try to bring Briarwood down just a little bit lower. That would be my input. Just otherwise, I think demographically we've done a really nice job of balancing them, and but I do still worry about that number in Concept 1A at Briarwood.
All right, does anyone have comments, or you want to go down the line? Do you want to start, Ms. Borgman, and then we'll go down?
First of all, thank you very much. We appreciate your input and just, how you've arrived at draft one. We in the Northwest area went through this a few years ago, and it is hard, and it's really hard. And I just think the thoughtfulness behind this time around is so much better, and this really seems like kind of a best practice model as to how we're going to be looking at things in the future. Is that?
Lessons learned. Lessons learned.
Dr. Hubbard and I were in the trenches the last time we had to go through this. So that's my first thank you. And then also, I'll just kind of echo what Dr. Hubbard said about if the capacity range is between 525 to 575 for both schools, and Briarwood is at at the max capacity. Okay. And Briarwood is already at 544. Could you kind of walk us through the thought process between, or how you kind of arrived at that 544 number, and if you guys talked about if that's too many kids in one school?
Yeah, the goal there was, as we looked at the geography and where kids are, and through our forecast through 26, 27, it seems that the enrollment would stabilize as we looked at the current inflow of kids. So this year I think we have the largest kindergarten class. So as we look forward over the next 5 years, we should see stability. Now, we could bring it down a little bit more. That gives us more flexibility in class sizes. And a lot of that gets into some of the conversation that the work group has had with how do we balance the demographics, and ultimately what led into work group meeting 2 was we started out leaving work group meeting 1, could we make 83rd Street the break? And as we had the conversations focusing on the center-based learning that is in Tomahawk and would be continued into Tomahawk, we kind of landed on trying to have Tomahawk under 400. We have a little bit of flexibility. Again, the building's not yet designed, so we could bring that enrollment up a little bit and bring Briarwood down just a little bit. I think that can be achieved.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Ms. Housley?
I'll second or third the kudos to the working group, the parents, the educators, the administrators who are sitting on that. I appreciate the thoughtful discussion that's been happening from folks both from Briarwood and from Tomahawk. And I look forward to the meeting at Briarwood for the impacted families. So as a Tomahawk family, I'd be happy to attend. I will probably not participate. I'll just be there to learn. But I know that this is it's a tricky wicket to navigate, and I think that everyone is doing a really good job at the moment. So thank you.
I also, too, appreciate the clarity of the process. It's very helpful. And I also plan to be there at the October 4th, is that right, meeting, just to listen and observe. And I appreciate the adaptations made to the process, Dr. Hubbard, with your leadership there. I had just one quick question. So you had mentioned that in Tomahawk we have a special program there. So are there typically more than 380 students, because there then would be students in the special program? You know, if there were in kind of counting, and so is the 380 include those students in the district-wide program that would be served
Right now,
there?
the 380 does not include those students.
Right, 380 does not include those students, which I think we predicted about 30, 35 students would be in addition to that 380 number.
So that building in Tomahawk would actually have more students, and there might be a pre-K classroom or something like that, so.
None of these projections include pre-K, correct? At this time, right?
I would say, too, that Erin Aldrich, the principal at Tomahawk, who sits on and participates on the committee, did a nice job of walking the work group through not only the students, the additional students. Sherry Demeline is also a part of the work group, and talked about how some of the, as our numbers are increasing, our special education projections are also increasing, so we wanted to make sure we had that. But in addition to the students, she really walked them through the additional, as you mentioned, staffing. So some of the specials teachers, the nurse, all of those other components that are a part of Tomahawk serve that greater number of students there as well. So they wanted to make sure that they had enough cushion there for that.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
And just so it's on the record, you could hear preschool students are not in those numbers, nor the movement of kids for the special programming.
And I think I would also add, in addition to resources regarding staff, it's just physical space also sometimes. OT, PT, just space that is needed for some of the special needs that are being served there.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Ms. Goodburn.
Nothing from me. Thanks for your work on this, and I look forward to seeing more reports coming up next month.
All right, Ms. Embry?
I would echo the thanks. I think it's great to see how much thought we're putting into this and how much time in advance and notice has to be one of the greatest gifts you can have as a parent if you're going to have a big change for your kids. So I think the time we're building in is really worth it. Michelle, I had a question for you about the numbers and how we arrive at like 525 to 575. I know at one point you said that was what it would take to have 3 sections at each grade level?
Four sections, which works naturally great for PLCs, great for staffing. It's usually a 1.0 for your PE music, rather than splitting staff across the district. There's really a lot of good reasons for that, but ideally we'd like 4 or less.
And we just toured Deemer, so John Deemer Elementary is going to be a 4-section elementary.
4
and
or
the
less.
Expected capacity of like a 4-section per grade would be the 525, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
There's always going to be less 3rd through 6th grade. It's not as clean as saying it's 4 sections just because we
Yes-ish.
have larger class sizes in our upper grades, right? But generally speaking, yes.
Okay, thank you. And I was going to, for the benefit of my fellow board members, at the SMAC PTA luncheon, it was really interesting because I was sitting by 2 people from the Briarwood PTA, and they were talking about how they've started doing pen pals with Tomahawk, and their PTAs are starting to work together on a number of community events so that over the next couple of years, there's sort of a sense of community between the 2 schools, which I think is absolutely wonderful for those kids who are transitioning between schools.
That's great to know. Thanks for sharing that. Ms. Boyd-Nerona, any questions?
Yes, just a point to mention as a technology advocate for accessibility and inclusion. Please keep that in the forefront as well. I love the fact that you are really seeking the goal of public trust and interest and input, but just keep those 2 points in mind as well. But thank you for your work.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Real quickly, I'd like to recognize John Kashka, Blake Ravel, who was here earlier, who joined us this evening to be a part of the meeting. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. This brings us to our discussion items. 3.1, renewal for benefit plan. Dr. Hubbard.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Schumacher and Dave Johnson from CBIZ.
All right. Got that, shares? Sorry, give us a second here. We'll get there. Okay. All right, so good evening. Thank you, Dr. Hubbard, Dr. Sinclair, as well as the rest of the board. Tonight I'm happy to share with you some information related to our benefits renewal beginning on January 1st, 2023. As mentioned, I have with me Mr. Dave Johnson, who is a senior benefits consultant at CBIZ. As you can see in the table of contents here, and perhaps in reviewing the slide deck, there's some detailed information for you and the public to consume. Our intent tonight is to let this document stand as a resource for you, as well as the documents that you'll find in the action item 7.01 later on in the agenda. Mr. Johnson and I do not aim to detail this entire slide deck, but of course we'll stand for any questions that you may have in the end. The first part that we want to touch on is a quick summary of our current offerings and their renewal status. So you can see on this slide here a summary of what we offer as a district to our employees. It's also probably important to note at this point that the district does have a benefits committee. This committee is made up of both certified and classified employees, administrators, and NEA reps. This group meets each year, and in fact multiple times each year, to take a look at all of our benefits offerings. They saw this information back in May. Tonight, Dave and I are going to spend the majority of our time on the medical carrier coverage, in that it does require your approval, as there are district-paid portions for this benefit. You can see listed on the slide the other coverages we provide on a voluntary basis to our employees at their cost. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Dave.
Thank you, Dr. Schumacher. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the time this evening. I just wanted to show you briefly what we went through last year with the renewal process. There's some information on the claims experience last year, et cetera. The important piece was the final increase on the plan was a 4.2% increase. So the district paid part of that increase, and then anyone that insures dependents on the plan, anyone that buys up on the plans would have paid a little bit extra as well. The dental plan had no change in benefits or rates and entered a multi-year rate guarantee. The vision plan, which is both the dental and the vision, are 100% voluntary. The employees pay the full cost of those. The vision plan's in the middle of a rate guarantee. The basic life is in a rate guarantee until this year, or until 1/1/23. And then the short-term disability renewed with a 1-year increase. Just for the plans that are going to renew this year, other than the medical, so the dental is going to renew with no change in rates or benefits, and there'll be a rate cap in future years for that. The vision plan is still under rate guarantee. The life is renewing with no change in rates or benefits. That's guaranteed for 3 years. And then the short-term disability plan will renew. Just as a side note, the plan used to be with Assurant. Assurant was purchased by Sun Life. Insurance companies like to put all their products on their own paper, so we'll be accomplishing that, but we'll be able to keep the benefits, which are very unique for Shawnee Mission, under the same format for employees for next year and future years. So everyone's favorite, the medical plan. This just shows you a chart of the results of the last several years. The blue bar is what was proposed by the insurance company, and the gold bar is what we eventually agreed to and negotiated. The important point here, the dotted line across the page there is the average increase for the last several years at 5.6%. The 4.2 was last year. That's really, really good. Annual trend, as we call it in the industry, is between 8 and 10%. So when you're able to maintain the plans where they are at a relatively good increase, especially after the period of time we've just gone through, you're doing very well. So we're very pleased with those results. The next page shows you, I don't want to go in a whole lot of detail here, but it's a claims dashboard that we send to administration every month, and it shows the claims experience for the rolling 12 months, actually for 2 rolling 12-month periods, so that we all can keep our eye on the ball and see what everything is doing on a month-to-month basis. So important thing here, light green last year, or the previous 12 months, dark green the current 12 months, your claims are going down, and that may be a surprise. It is certainly. It's a great surprise, but they're going down by 2% on a per member per month basis. That's really unusual. Again, that's running 9 to 10% for most people over the last several years. We've split that out both by active, retirees, both pre and post 65, and then COBRA people, and then split it out by plan. So you can see the 6 different plans that the district offers down there at the bottom. The monthly, and that chart is usually really up and down for most of the clients we work with. You're a little larger, so there's a little more evenness to that, but certainly you as a group have performed very well for the last, really for the last 2 years. And down at the bottom is the total paid for the rolling 12 months, so about $22 million in paid claims for the last 12 months. So the renewal, a few bullet points here. Claims for the last 12 months are averaging about 80% of your maximum. That's really good. You want to maintain a number underneath that maximum. 80% is really good. Your overall fixed costs, which are the costs the insurance company charges to process the plan, are going down by about 0.5%. Your pooled premium, which is the cost you pay to maintain an individual pooling point of $150,000, meaning any large claims you have are thrown out of your claims experience. The insurance company covers those. That's going down for the 2nd year in a row, which is, I actually have never seen that in the time I've been in this business. So that's very, very good. That means your large claims are not as high as many of your other school districts, other clients that Blue Cross covers. Your per member per month claims, and you can see there, generally you have a unique plan in that you have 6 different plans people can choose from. They are three plans really, and the difference between the plans, they mirror the benefits, but it's a smaller network for the plan. So you have the Blue Care HMO, and then you have what we call the Blue Select Plus EPO. The benefits are the same. The EPO is in a smaller network, thus lower claims. So you've been able to get a lot of your population in that smaller network, still have the same level of benefits as you would in the larger, more expensive network, and that's translated to reduced claims over the last several years. Based on positive claims experience, your rates are going to reduce, basically. Your overall expense is going to go down slightly. Congratulations, that's fabulous. The district's going to continue to pay the current contribution, which is $792 a month. So that's going to translate into a few different things. Family coverage is going to go down. Individual coverage is either going to go down or there's going to be a higher contribution to the HSA for those people in the HSA plan. We presented this to Cabinet back in May on the 3rd and then presented it to the Benefits Committee on the 11th, and surprisingly they all agreed. So very positive. I guess, Dr. Schumacher, if you want to go through those individual rates.
Yep. So again, thanks, Dave. And so this is a slide that our employees are most interested in, and of course it's a little small here on the slide deck, but I want to highlight a couple things that Dave mentioned. Pretty unusual that we do have a rate reduction in our premiums, and thankful to you guys, and through the negotiations process there was an initial agreement to hold the district contribution at $792 while reducing the premium cost to our employees by around 1.6%. And so there's going to be a direct impact to our employees on that, which is fantastic. Dave highlighted a couple other things too, that the HSA will go up again, and most of those plans are going to come down, which is going to put dollars back into our employees' pockets, which is fantastic. The other thing I would like to add, that assuming that you approve the action item 7.01, all of this information will go out to our employees starting tomorrow. Open enrollment will begin on September 26th and last till about October 14th, I believe. And again, I just want to highlight the fact that this is wonderful news that we don't get to share very often. Moving to the next slide, this is a pretty deep look at, or a granular detail of all of our different plans. Not going to go into much, if any, detail on this. Again, this is going to be shared with our employees, again, starting tomorrow. The piece that I want to highlight here is we do have a great benefits team, and then a vendor, Benefits Direct, who will spend as much time as needed with each of our employees so they can make the right choices with their health care for them and their families. And then the last couple things, the appendix and supporting materials. As Dave mentioned, we do have a robust plan, which includes a dental plan, which is highlighted here on these two slides, and then a vision plan, which is highlighted on this slide. So last thing, just want to thank the board and the Benefits Committee for the great work that they do in supporting our employees. Of course, this is a big piece of employing people, is having a robust benefits package, and we are really proud of it. So that's it. If you have any questions, Dave and I will stand for them.
All right, thank you. You want to, okay. Ms. Housley?
Okay.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
So I always appreciate getting good news, and so I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but it strikes me that this is a bit of luck, not necessarily fortune of our meticulous planning. And so we can't say that this is a trajectory that continues into next year. I mean, the lowered cost is not necessarily something we could predict moving forward. So this could be a one-off event, even though it's held steady for 2 years, it may not continue to hold steady. Am I understanding that correctly?
Let's see how I can put the most positive spin on that. It is a little bit of luck. In our business, if you're less than, again, that trend number that I talked about, you're doing well. You do have, and I forgot to mention the body of the paragraph, you do have a wonderful employee benefit here, which is your on-site clinic and your on-site fitness center, which is wonderful. A lot of people don't have. That does contribute to being able to keep those claims down. You are coming out of a very tenuous time in healthcare where many insurance companies loaded rates because they didn't know what was going to happen. And there's a little bit of a come down from that, so yes. But now you've averaged, and I would take you back to the slide that shows your average for the last several years, 5.6%, and that is a win. That's a win over that length of time.
So we can enjoy this and not worry about it so much like a shoe dropping at some point, or?
I would say yes, you can enjoy it. Probably next year you'll get an increase in that pooling cost because you've gone down for a couple of years, but that's only 5% of your overall premium, so that will be a relatively low number. You will in the future probably have to change benefits on the qualified high deductible health care plan based on IRS guidelines. Those change every once in a while, so it's a living, breathing thing that we collectively have to manage. You've got all the right things in place to manage that. You have an on-site clinic. You're offering benefits, and many people are enrolled in the smaller competitive, price competitive network. So you're doing the right things to impact that.
Thank you, that's appreciated. Oh, go ahead,
If I
Dr.
could add
Schumacher.
just one thing. The point you bring up is one that we thought of as well. Russ thought of it, we talked about it with the Wellness Committee, and we all recognize the fact that when we're reducing premium rates, there could be a rebound the next year, and we all just had to accept that fact. And so the Wellness Committee, or excuse me, the Benefits Committee had that conversation, so.
And super on board with lowering that, or providing that cost benefit to employees, just cognizant that that might be something that isn't maintained next year.
100%.
Thank you.
Yep.
I really don't have any specific questions. I appreciate the work of the committee that reflects kind of a stakeholder group, and then, the additional review by our professionals and our administrative leadership team. So I appreciate the thoughtfulness behind the recommendations that you've given to the board. So, and continuing to do this very thorough analysis. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Goodburn.
Excuse me, I'll take the good news, and thank you for, and I just think it's wonderful, too, that we provide all these different choices for people. Thank you.
Ms. Embry?
Yeah, I'm going to mess this up, Dr. Schumacher, but am I remembering right that we were trying to move our employees sort of out of high deductible health plans and because of some of these maybe upcoming IRS guidelines and into some of the more like PPO options?
Yeah.
Has that happened? How's it going?
Yeah, so we have to be careful with that. Individual employees will make the best decision for themselves, and so what we would try to do is coach them and counsel them on the benefits of all of the different plans. So yeah, I mean, depending on who you ask, I mean, there's certainly some advantages to taking that high deductible plan. So we work with CBIZ, we work with our benefits vendor as well to coach them and give them all of the information that they need to make the best decision for them.
Okay, because the PPO plans are cost neutral for our employees, for an individual employee, right?
Well, it depends. They will pay a little bit out of pocket. I don't have that PowerPoint up, but if it's the individual, most of it is paid by the employer.
Okay.
Yep.
I was just remembering that before the pandemic, so it's only kind of in there.
Yep.
Thank you.
If I could add one thing to that, I would imagine the district will have many different plan options available, and if you look at some of the numbers in the presentation, you can see some of those plans are much more expensive plans, not only in terms of the claims incurred by the members of that particular plan, but also in the premium that an employee has to pay to be in that plan. That HMO plan is an example. You have to pay a lot of premium out of pocket, even as an individual, to enroll in that plan, where the HSA plan, you receive a huge amount of money, I would say, from the district every year to be in that plan. We haven't had to have a plan design change for 5 or 6 years, I think. So that's another real positive.
In the big scheme of things, I just like the fact that you are stating that we're positioned very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Borgman?
Yeah, thank you. That was a great presentation. I'm in the healthcare field, so just super fascinating, and thank you for the dialogue about the high deductible plans as well. I want to make sure people really understand the benefits, because that's an important thing for everybody to understand. So it sounds like the wellness clinic is really just paying dividends. Thoughts on, do we want to continue to see this wellness clinic grow?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And you probably read a little bit about it in our HR board report, and we're going to highlight it here in just a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the benefits are innumerable. I mean, they're fantastic, and we will actually give a report in January with Priority One and talk about the return on investment that we get every single year. It's in cost avoidance, but we got to believe that it has something to do with these reductions in those premium rates. It has to.
It's great.
Yep.
Great work.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys. It was great news for us. We're always excited about it. But again, I just want to reiterate that we do have the action item down in 7.1, I believe. 2.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Dr. Schumacher.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, 3.3, student athletic participation and student discipline hearing update.
Actually, we need the, yes.
Oh, sorry, 3.2. Shoot.
I'm back, sorry.
Yeah.
Dr. Schumacher,
It's
Dr.
a big
Schumacher
one.
again.
I'm going to sit down here in a little bit, I promise.
Sorry, 3.2, human resources program evaluation.
All right. So good evening again, everyone. I want to thank you for giving us, this team, the opportunity to share some information about the work of the HR team. This evening I have with me our team, Ms. Pam Lewis, Dr. Jeremy Higgins, Dr. Jarius Jones, Dr. Brittany Gonzer, and guest lecturing, so to speak, over there is Dr. Tyrone Bates, who is an honorary member of our team. You'll also notice, nothing on the screen, there it is. You'll also notice in the picture our other talented team members. So our team extends beyond this group here. A lot of our assistants do tremendous work, and we just want to recognize them. They really exhibit the philosophy of One Shawnee Mission. We want to thank them. As you know, I have the privilege every couple weeks to sit before you and interact with you. My hope tonight is for you to again see the firsthand the incredible work of this team and the work that they do for the Shawnee Mission School District. As we all know, what guides the work and actions of the SMSD is our strategic plan, and it's important to always remind ourselves of our district mission, which of course we find here. We should also remind ourselves of the destination. As an HR team, like all departments and schools, we know that our work must allow students to, number one, achieve academic success, 2, develop and utilize resilience, and 3, develop interpersonal skills. And we think our report will show how we do that. So knowing that the strategic plan guides our work, let's jump into our report. Knowing that each of you have had a chance to read the entire report, tonight we're going to attempt to simply provide you a brief overview and then stand for any specific questions you may have in the end. As we've been saying over the past 2 years, to anyone who would listen, people are our greatest resource. It is truly our anchor belief and what drives our work on a daily basis. Additionally, we hope as a team to be a model of best practice. And with that, as we met this summer during our leadership retreat, we approached our work from a reflective mindset. While we're really proud of the work we did last year, we know that good is the enemy of great. And of course, that's Stephen Covey. So what we did is we reviewed our work with a critical eye and with the idea of determining glows and grows for the 22-23 school year. And you can see on this slide just an example of some of the chart work that we did while we were meeting as a team. We believe that this report shows you in our community ways in which we will continue to serve our employees and the district at large at the highest possible levels. In our reports over the last couple years, we've broken down our work into what we call the 5 main functions of HR. We believe that any organization must do the following in their service to their employees. Of course, recruitment and retention is a big piece. Safety and compliance has to be attended to. Employee relations continues to be a big emphasis of all HR teams. Compensation and benefits gets a ton of interest, of course. And then finally, training and development. All of those areas have to be addressed by all organizations, and we do that, of course. And as you read the report, I'm sure you saw that we touched on all of those different things. However, for the sake of this presentation, we're going to tell our story in a different fashion, mainly so as not to bore you with all of those other pieces. So we're going to spend our time tonight talking about our people. Let me say that again. We're going to spend our time focusing on our people, our greatest resource, and mainly how we recruit them and how we retain them. We do many things in addressing this incredibly important HR function, and our team is excited to share with you those things tonight. So, as we jump into this, let's talk about our people. As you all know, hiring a diverse workforce is and always has been a priority for our organization and thus our team. And we are really proud of the fact that we are what we call see-through transparent about our numbers. Last year, we began the practice of publicly sharing our demographic data, and we reported those numbers to you in our report. In this year's report, we've done the same thing while also sharing with you last year's numbers. Our hope is to continue to do this year over year so that we can all keep track of that. What is important to note before we look at the data is this, and again, we've shared this with you consistently as well, that while we have a goal of hiring a more diverse workforce, we will always hire the very best candidates. That's number one of what we will continue to do. So with that, we are very happy to report that statistically, we've seen growth in the diversity of our workforce. While the changes are admittedly not large, and 1 year does a trend not make, it is a step in the right direction. There's much more detail in the report, but you can see that we've increased our racial diversity in all 3 employee groups. And my teammates will detail later in our presentation specific ways in which we continue to address diversity in our workforce. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Dr. Bates.
Thank you, Dr. Schumacher. Good evening to our board, ELT, cabinet, and community members. This past spring, the Human Resources team, along with members of the Student Services team, attended the ASPA, American Association of School Personnel's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Summit. One of the takeaways from the conference was to look closer at our interview process, particularly training for our interviewers to be aware of and ask questions about whether or not their bias is showing up when making decisions about candidates. Following a review of several DEI firms, we identified a consultant group to help us and help our district leadership team learn more about the phenomenon of interviewer bias. The group we've identified to consult with is Lively Paradox. They're a team of expert speakers and trainers who bring a combined 50-plus years of experience and expertise in leadership training, performance improvement, and the legal aspect of difference. We've scheduled dates for our first 2 sessions with Lively Paradox. Our learning will inform the next steps to take with our interviewer training program. With that, I will turn the presentation over to my colleague and friend, Dr. Jarius Jones.
I don't think so.
Okay, I promise you I didn't touch it until now. Thank you, Dr. Gonzer. Good evening, board. I would like to speak to our classified recruitment. Over the last year, we've continued to recruit using our traditional methods and means of holding job fairs within the SMSD boundaries. We had 2 job fairs here at the CAA. We also started the year last year at Shawnee Mission West, where we also had I believe a COVID-19 unit as well that was a part of that. So we partnered with Johnson County at that time. And we've also continued to participate in some job fairs around the community. I had the great pleasure of participating in the Step Up for Jobs Fair.com, which was held here in our local area, but I also had an opportunity to be a part of the Job News USA. And I found when I participated in it, that we were the only educational entity that was a part of that. There were nearly 60 organizations around the city, the metro area, who participated, and we were the only educational entity. We were very careful with it because there are expenses that come along with that, but over time, when we had our last one that was held at Overland Park Convention Center, we saw more. We saw about 30 applicants or individuals who came to our table, and of that 30, about 20 or so applied. And so we saw more of that as time went on, but we also recognize that we still have quite a few vacancies in our district for our non-teaching jobs. We also have participated in some student-led job fairs. Shawnee Mission East held one in the spring, as well as Shawnee Mission West, and so we participated in those job fairs. We're trying to take advantage of Policy JJ. No, I didn't give it that name, but it does have my initials, and I'll take it. I was here before I got here. But Policy JJ affords us to be able to hire students within the district, and so we're exploring that. We had an opportunity to work with food service in Shawnee Mission West, as they have students who are pursuing career and who are experiencing career and employee opportunities. And so we have a few students who have taken advantage of that with our food service. We hope to expand it into our custodial service as well as some other areas so that we can get some of our students involved in helping, as well as taking advantage of the labor that may be there to support us. We've also been very flexible with what we're allowing. Before, we offered full-time positions. We've now parceled those out and allowed for some of those parents who may be stay-at-home parents that may want to be able to drop their child off and pick their child up from school and have some time in the day to support us. We are seeing more and more individuals who are taking advantage of that. So we're trying to recruit in as many ways as possible so that we can fill the positions that we do have vacant. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, Dr. Higgins and Ms. Lewis.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. So let's continue the discussion on recruitment and the efforts we take to recruit new teammates to the Shawnee Mission School District, specifically our certified staff members. There's been a concerted effort over the last several years to expand our recruiting footprint as we look to hire that diverse workforce that Dr. Bates and Dr. Schumacher previously talked about. The blue dots on the map seen here show our recruiting efforts during the 21-22 and the 22-23 school years. We continue to place a heavy emphasis on our local schools while also exploring new colleges and universities within our region. Additionally, we will continue to recruit and explore institutions that have students from our underrepresented staff population, specifically our historically black colleges and our Hispanic serving institutions. You may remember last year during our presentation that we talked about attending a number of virtual events. This year we're excited that all the events that we're attending are in person. And additionally, a majority of them are education-specific events to really let us focus in on those education students.
I'll also expand on certified recruitment because that also involves our district student teachers. And we have a firsthand opportunity to develop relationships with our student teachers and get to know them over time. They also get to learn our district curriculum, utilizing our district platforms and resources, and most importantly, they work with our students. So our HR team takes the time over the course of the semester to meet every student teacher in our schools. We currently have 48 student interns serving as student teachers and an additional 75 students that are completing practicums in our classrooms. So our goal is to always provide them a quality student teaching experience with our outstanding mentor teachers, and having our mentor teachers, of course, provide that modeling and coaching. It's a crucial part of their development, and it's a crucial part of this student teacher program, and it's also an investment and a way for us to grow our own by developing those student teachers that are serving our students on a day-to-day basis. And so we connect with them, as I said, as a human resources department by going out and meeting with them, but we also provide them other opportunities. We have an optional student teacher form that we developed for them that they can utilize to get more feedback from their mentor teacher, as well as more feedback from their principals as well. And we also provide them interview opportunities. So our admin interns at the elementary level and our assistant middle school administrators provide them a mock interview practice I guess I would say, format with feedback and just also a resume review. And we got great feedback from our student teachers that, just said that really put them at ease. They appreciated that the time that we gave them and really individualizing that time for them to help prepare them for the interview process. And of course, that starts with our November interview night, which we always encourage all of them to sign up for. And we're really excited about the fact that we have 26 of our former student teachers serving in our classrooms this year.
Not only do we have a focus on recruiting those outside of our organization, but you will continue to see a more coordinated effort to recruit those already within the Shawnee Mission School District community into various positions in our organization. A great opportunity to hire a more diverse workforce comes from our own efforts to grow our own pool of employees. Several different aspects of the strategic plan lay out the path forward in relation to creating this teacher pipeline within the school district. Strategic Action Plan 223 speaks directly about the teacher education program. I'm happy to report that all 5 of our high schools have teacher education programs within their master schedules, with over 150 students currently enrolled. Having this high-functioning teacher ed program can serve as that initial kickoff for our internal recruiting and can be done so when those students are still in school with us. Pam and I are actively collaborating with our teacher education teachers in an effort to enhance the programming for our students and to provide them with some additional learning experiences. Out of this collaboration with our teachers already this fall was born this idea of hosting a education college fair for all of our teacher ed students. And the plans for this event are still being finalized, but we're hoping to host this event in January of 2023 here at the CAA. In regards to Grow Your Own, thanks to the support of the board, the special education department, and the HR department, we were able to kick off a second cohort of special education teachers gaining their teaching credentials through Fort Hays State University while working in certified teaching positions. As it relates to a Grow Your Own program for Shawnee Mission graduates who want to go into education-related careers, our district leadership continues to explore ways for funding for this type of program. I'm also excited to share information with you about post-secondary institution partnerships that we have in place. As Pam talked about earlier, we host a number of student teachers throughout the year, and we host a number of observation and practicum students within the district as well. We currently work with approximately 30 different post-secondary institutions on both student teacher placements as well as these observation and practicum experiences. Additionally, we have committed to enhancing our partnership with Johnson County Community College, primarily because of the fact that so many of our Shawnee Mission graduates go to attend Johnson County Community College. We have had several very productive conversations with members of the Johnson County Community College Education Department about this enhanced partnership. And this enhanced partnership really is twofold. Number one, we want to enhance Johnson County's exposure to our students, especially allowing them to place an emphasis on teacher ed careers and talking about the programs that they offer at Johnson County. Additionally, we hope to increase our exposure to Johnson County Community College students in hopes that we can get them into our classrooms as observers, as practicum students, or maybe even as into classified positions. The final item that I want to share with you is in relation to a potential partnership with Kansas State University. We've had discussions with K-State about a Johnson County residency pathway that would allow Shawnee Mission School District graduates to complete a Bachelor in Science degree from K-State without ever having to leave Johnson County, which we know would be a huge benefit for a number of our students across the district. This program would allow students to graduate from here in Shawnee Mission, move on to Johnson County Community College with a focus in education, matriculate to Kansas State University, take classes online through K-State, culminating with a year-long student teaching experience right here in Shawnee Mission. And the beauty of this partnership, again, is that students would never have to leave home. They could complete all of this right here in Johnson County. This residency pathway is still being finalized with both Johnson County and with K-State, but we're definitely excited about the potential that this pathway has for our students and for our graduates.
Excited to talk about our SMSD recruit team, which I thoroughly love working with. This is our third year, and it continues to evolve as, our main goal is to recruit the best for our students. The SMSD recruit team consists of 35 team members, ranging from first-year teachers to teachers with 20-plus years of experience, and they represent elementary, secondary, special education, elementary specials teachers, instructional coaches, and interventionists. And the primary focus for the team this year has evolved into intentional retention planning. That is our main focus for the year, and developing retention plans at the district level that then can also be adapted for building level retention plans. And so the focus areas of the team is reflecting on and further developing action steps for, as part of our retention planning, are the areas of recruitment, employee engagement, community engagement, leadership pathways for growth, culture, which includes socialization opportunities, connecting with colleagues, and relationship building, professional learning support, incentives, work-life balance, and overall strong communication. So the team will develop that district retention plan, and then will allow for building teams with their BLTs, providing feedback and input, as well as their new staff members providing input, to really then hone in on what their building level retention plans will look like. So the SMSD recruit team will also follow that up as part of the retention planning by developing a focus group this year. It will be comprised of 30 year 1 and year 2 staff members representing all feeder patterns that will participate in quarterly discussions and provide feedback to the SMSD recruit team, and then that feedback will directly impact our retention planning efforts. So also a part of our retention planning, we reviewed our exit surveys. A year ago, our HR team implemented exit surveys to garner feedback from the following areas. One, we were asking employees to identify the primary and secondary reasons for leaving the district. Two, we wanted them to reflect on the compensation benefits package offered by the district. Three, we wanted them to reflect on their employee experience with Shawnee Mission. And 4, we wanted them to have an opportunity to feel free to leave any additional comments that they could provide to us. It's easily accessible. It's a QR code that's on their resignation and retirement form, and it's easy to complete a short Google form. But that being said, unfortunately, we only had 31 former staff members respond to the exit survey last year, and that only represented 14% of our staff that resigned or retired during the 21-22 school year. So while we will continue our exit survey as part of our retention planning efforts, the SMSD recruit team is now charged with developing a survey for all staff, providing ongoing feedback to us that the district can review and that we can respond to with actions that retain employees, rather than waiting for feedback from an exit survey. So we want to know, of course, why our staff chooses to leave us, whether that be for personal or professional reasons, but we also want to have feedback on why our staff chooses to stay in Shawnee Mission and what we can do and what actions we can take to continue with our outstanding staff members remaining with us here in Shawnee Mission. So then, in hiring all of these staff members, we get to start with that onboarding process, and I know many of you have been a part of New Team Member Academy. If you were there is no doubt that the energy and excitement from New Team Member Academy was electric this year, to say the least. We take great pride in welcoming our new team members to Shawnee Mission, and NTA was an opportunity for us to bring 240 new teammates on board. And not only for them to learn what Shawnee Mission is all about, from our strategic plan initiatives to other trainings around our resources and curriculum, but to really understand what one Shawnee Mission culture feels like, because that's definitely something you could feel, and they could feel that support. And it starts out with our annual bus tours that are led by our principals in each feeder pattern. Gives them a chance to see their communities, connect with their colleagues from across the district. Also allows them to receive that special treatment from our band and our cheer squads and our mascots as they welcome them to NTA. And they get to really not just meet, but spend quality time with district leaders, building principals, instructional coaches, district coordinators, teacher leaders that serve as our facilitators for their learning sessions. It's just a true support of showing what Shawnee Mission is all about and how we come together as one to support our new team members. And of course, the now annual NTA Clap Out is a tradition that's continuing to grow and garner some great excitement. We even added posters and flags and mascots and some drums, adding Tambi with the drums. So we're really taking it to the next level at the NTA Clap Out. So you'll want to make sure you don't miss out on that next year. And Dr. Gonzer is going to add a little bit more about what that onboarding looks like and the training that we provide.
Yeah, thanks, Mrs. Lewis. As we mentioned, an introduction to the culture of the Shawnee Mission School District is a key part of the NTA process. In addition to that, we will really want to make sure that we are providing the essential information and resources that our new team members need to be successful right out the gate. And although we acknowledge we can never have enough time for that process, we always wish we had more time with them, we have identified some key areas that we always want to make sure are our priority. Those areas are instructional technology and support, so familiarizing them with their new devices and tools, curriculum resources that are essential to what they do day in and day out, a welcome to our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging practices and values that we hold as a district, and then some content-specific training that they really need to be successful in those early days. In addition to that, we do provide a survey at the end of NTA each year. We then use the feedback from that survey to plan for ongoing mentorship for the rest of the school year, which we'll share more about here in just a moment. And then something new that we implemented as a team this past school year is the addition of a mid-year onboarding process for all of our new hires who start with us in January. This was just really us as a team acknowledging that we recruit and hire year-round, and we want to provide that same welcoming feeling for all Shawnee Mission team members regardless of when they start with us. So we added that last December, and we'll continue to build upon that new tradition this year. So onboarding really continues throughout the year with that mentorship program that I mentioned to you just a few minutes ago. There are 4 professional learning sessions throughout the year that are exclusive to our new team members, where we really try to provide them the topics and things that they are needing and have shared with us in that survey. So the targeted professional learning they'll receive in year 1 is listed for you there in the presentation. That includes an introduction to key individuals and district resources. In a district our size, it's really important to familiarize people with those names and tools. That's why you'll see there an image of our new team members visiting our health facility and learning more about the employee wellness benefits that are available to them. Also, the usage of critical curriculum and technology resources is a part of that professional learning, as well as really diving into how do I analyze student data and use that to support instruction in my classroom. We know that relationships are key to retention, and that's where our mentorship program plays a huge role, is building those relationships. We know that mentorship helps prevent new teacher burnout, and that without a mentor, 1 in 3 teachers may leave the profession by the end of year 5. We can decrease that number to 1 in 7 with a quality mentor. Mentorship for new teachers leads to increased academic gains for our students as well. So it's not just good for the adults, it's good for kids too. And then a critical piece of that mentoring program is the observations and feedback that we provide to our new team members. And it just so happened to work out that we have now the famous Ms. Royal there. Sometimes you get lucky. And then just wanted to mention that, as I shared earlier, we frequently survey and seek input from our new team members. We want to make sure that their onboarding experience is relevant to them. And I just wanted to share this with you because it was a key piece of data that came out in this year's feedback. At this point in time, 47% of our new team members that we've onboarded just this year have explicitly asked for support in the areas of social and emotional learning, DEI&B, and classroom management. So that'll be a critical focus for us this year.
It is very important that all of us continue to sharpen our skills, and so we ourselves, we attend different conferences and events, and I'm going to allow Dr. Bates to begin and share out one experience that he was a part of, and then I will come and follow him from there and speak to one that I was able to participate in as well.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. If you remember last year, we talked about how we are exploring ways to engage our classified staff in our DEIB, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I wanted to make sure I put that out there. Professional learning. This year, our Director of Food Services, Grace Elmore, created an opportunity for me to provide professional learning with our food service workers. I had a chance to speak about why DEIB is important, why our district is focused on DEIB, identify starting points for their DEIB journey in SMSD. We will continue to build opportunities for our classified staff to engage in the DEIB professional learning during this year's instructional fair in January, as well as the DEIB hub that is being developed to house trainings and other DEIB-related content they can access on demand. Dr. Jones.
Yes, and throughout the year, many of us, the colleagues, the directors for HR, we've attended several virtual CASPA events where they have occurred weekly, and we were able to get on and hear different topics that were specific to our work. We were also able to collaborate and share things that were going on in our district, and also hear what was going on with others and use some of those ideas throughout our time last year. We also had the great fortune of attending the American Association of School Personnel Administrators event, their national conference, which was held immediately after we presented last year in Washington, D.C. And by participating in that, several of the Johnson County HR directors, we convened when we got there, and they kind of brought me in. I was a new guy, but we all talked. We talked and shared about what it is that we experienced. And after hearing a dynamic keynote speaker, our very last keynote speaker, Garrison Wynn, speak about employee engagement, we said, wouldn't it be nice if we all come together, all 6 school districts, come together and have a summit of some sorts? And of course, I'm being the new guy, I'm thinking, yeah, we should do that. And hey, Shawnee Mission can host it. They're at Shawnee Mission South. And I spoke pretty quickly, and I was like, man, I hope I can get out of this. But it turned out to be, I believe, a brilliant idea, because it allowed all 6 school districts to come together at one time to have all of our building leaders, our building principals, assistant principals, even our administrative interns and other areas in the districts that we shared, HR leaders, our superintendents. Our superintendent introduced or welcomed everyone. We were able to bring everyone together and to see that convening of professionals speaking about the situations that they've experienced, and the breakout sessions. After the keynote speaker gave his dynamic speech, then we broke out into job-alike sessions. And in those breakout sessions, they were able to speak to certain questions, certain dilemmas, certain ideas were put out, and they were able to share what it is that they do to make their work better for their staff. And so by attending these types of events, there are great ideas that come out of this. And I believe that the Johnson County Administrative Summit will continue, because everyone wants it to continue into the next year. So thank you all for allowing us to participate in these conferences so that we sharpen our skills and we have an opportunity to collaborate with others.
So we can't have a conversation about training and development without acknowledging the work of the PDC, or the Professional Development Council. These are leaders from all of our school buildings that come together to plan for professional learning opportunities. The roles of the PDC are outlined for you there in the presentation, but really our team views the PDC as part of our teacher retention process. The goal of PDC is to provide a fulfilling employee experience that sustains our team members over the course of their career in the Shawnee Mission School District.
So let's talk a little bit about our wellness initiatives as our last point. In our report, we detail the many wellness programs in the district, some of which are bulleted on the side here on this slide. Additionally, we've provided a graphic speaking to the patient satisfaction with our Priority 1 Health Clinic, which of course we talked about previously in the board meeting. We chose the clinic to highlight because it remains a huge point of pride for us and is an incredibly unique benefit that this district offers in comparison to most of our peers. There's so many benefits that again, it is hard to enumerate them all, but we saw in the health insurance renewal a direct impact of the impact of the Priority 1 Health Clinic. And I know that our team, whenever we're recruiting or hiring someone, we expose them to the clinic as well as the fitness center, and we're just really proud of that. So I know we've taken quite a bit of your time. We appreciate you giving us some time. We're going to end with, in the presentation tonight, with reminding you of our philosophy and our goals for the year. Again, thank you for the time, and at this time, the team will stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you. It was inspiring for sure. Dr. Hubbard, do you want to kick us off, or should I start with Ms. Goodburn?
I'll let you guys go ahead now.
Okay.
I'll close.
Okay.
I think I asked the same question last year, but more of a 100,000-foot view. How are we seeing the enrollments at our universities around for education programs? Are those starting to increase at all out of the pandemic? Are we seeing more numbers? Do you know? Is it too early in the semester to know this? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we've heard from a couple universities that their numbers are actually down, and we're seeing that reflected in the number of student teachers that we have this year. Universities, they believe maybe the pandemic and these kids were freshmen, sophomores when that was all beginning, and they believe it's having an impact on those kids actually matriculating through those education programs. So it's it's not hasn't come back as of yet.
And we don't think it's hyperbole to suggest that we're in this teacher crisis, this teacher, people coming into education as a crisis. So that's why we're really proud of the work that Jeremy and Pam and Jerry has continued to do to grow our own. We have to control the pipeline ourselves.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Embry?
Yeah, I really appreciate hearing about all of the exit surveys and all of the work we're doing around employee engagement. I'm wondering if we have any information. You guys all kind of alluded to when we think about retention, when we lose teachers, what can you tell me about teachers we do lose? Are they younger in their career? Are they of any certain race or ethnicity? Like, what do we know about teachers who are leaving?
We started tracking retention rates last year, November of 21. So we've got some retention data from November of 21 and September of 22. And we haven't disaggregated that an extreme amount at this moment. We've got it by level. So we can see the retention rate for elementary, high school, middle school, district-wide. So we're going to work with our with budget office on trying to disaggregate that a little bit more. So some of hopefully what you asked will come out of that work. In regards to what people are doing or where they're going, we would like to have some more of that exit survey data. More people responding to that, but obviously we can't force it as well. So, but hopefully as time goes and people realize that that's available, we'll see some better results on that exit survey as well.
We are saying that some of that initial exit survey data did show that some are leaving the teaching profession. So that is one factor that we face, that we know that, we have to look at what we can do to retain our staff. But I think the other key piece of this is the relationships with our staff. I know that we've had a lot of conversation with those staff members that, have resigned or retired, and try to get individual feedback from them and hope that when they decide to return to education, that they've had a great employee experience here and they return to Shawnee Mission. And so I think those relationships are really important. And part of our retention planning is continuing those relationships and gaining that input from staff, as we said, along the way, and getting that feedback so we can actually take action instead of waiting until that exit survey comes around. That's a big focus of the work of SMSD Recruit.
That's great. I love hearing that. I love that we've started tracking it. I feel like even at the individual school level, you could learn a lot about what's going on in an individual school community by looking at retention data. So I think it's a great ad for us to start collecting that and really looking at it and learning from it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Boyd-Norena?
I have two questions and a comment. How do we determine the states where we're recruiting? Is that just they call us and we go, or are we proactive in that? How do we choose the states that were listed?
So obviously we hit all of those that are locally to us. And so Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, Oklahoma, Arkansas, things that are within driving distance to Kansas City. And then from there, Pam and I have really focused on regionally, like where is it reasonable to think we may be able to pull some candidates from, and then within those locations, where are some prime universities that we could we could go to. Hispanic serving institutions, historically black colleges, as well as those programs that, teacher programs that just historically have large numbers of students involved. So,
When you look at the research, it tells us that those that graduate from the universities, that a lot of times they're just going to go about 60 miles from where they lived, or 60 to 90 miles from the university in which they graduated from. So that's really made us focus in on that Midwest region, and expanding, of course, into Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Colorado, and then, of course, north as well, and of course, Missouri. So that's kind of the research that's driving us. And then, of course, we reflect and look at our numbers and where our hires coming from. We really capitalize on those schools that have strong teacher education programs, and also then reflecting on the teacher candidates that come in and the feedback we get from our principals, and the quality of those candidates as well is really important too.
Thank you. Second question was, do we have an anonymous component to any of the surveys or the communications that we're seeking from our employees or students, or employees, student teachers?
We don't. We haven't crafted it that way. That's an interesting question. I suppose we could look at that, but honestly, we haven't thought of it in that sense, yeah.
And last but certainly not least, with the Grow Your Own program, I like the fact that you are focusing on meeting the students and student teachers where they are and being innovative in that way. So I appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Ms. Borgman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you guys so much. I mean, you know, we had a teacher during public comment, you know, in tears earlier, because, you know, it's really hard right now, you know, and it's been hard for the past couple of years. And so I think education in general is hard, but, you know, the fact that you're leaning into this specific area of education is really hard. And you're really thinking creatively, and you're innovating, and you're trying new ways to reach people, out of the box ways. And I just really applaud you in the things that you are doing to try to reach and attract, you know, the best talent possible for our kids. And so I just have to take a second to give a shout out to each one of you for like your incredible work in this area. Dr. Bates uncovering the bias during the interview process, Dr. Jones volunteering Shawnee Mission to host the JOCO Admin Summit, and the work in the classified area. Ms. Lewis, your focus on retention, new team member academy, and mentoring. Dr. Higgins, your innovative work with Grow Your Own. I love the KSU Johnson County residency program. I think for people especially who may be looking at a second career, that could be really exciting for people. Dr. Gonzer, your instructional technology and support, as well as your commitment to DE&I onboarding, and obviously your mentoring. Dr. Schumacher for leading the team. So thank you guys so much. I don't have any questions, really. I mean, I have a lot of questions, but it's a long meeting, and you guys have stayed late after an incredibly long day. So just thank you all very much for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Owsley.
So I appreciate all of your hard work. I know that your job right now has to be very difficult, considering the context that all districts are facing, not just in Johnson County, but across the country, with regards to hiring efforts, both for certified and classified. And I know that we are not immune to those issues, certainly. And one of the things that has been brought up to my attention from folks in the community is concerns about filling positions, even just this school year, that we don't have filled. And I know some of our neighboring districts, like with the classified staff, they did provide a bump in salary, but they are still facing the same shortages that we are facing here. And so one of the things I try to keep in mind is that, you know, we, especially with regards to special education, so we know we have a shortage of bus drivers, we know we have a shortage of folks in nutrition services, and then we have, you know, difficulties getting folks to be paras. But we know that right now the state is not meeting its obligation with regards to reimbursing districts the overage of costs for special education. Statute says they're supposed to do it at 92%. They're currently not doing that, and that is costing Shawnee Mission roughly $8 million a year. So I guess my question would be, what difference would it make to us from an HR perspective if we had that $8 million a year and we were getting our 92% funding, just across the board for our community?
It would make a difference. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, money talks, right? I mean, people work for a reason. They work to pay bills and provide for their family. And just to speak about some of those openings, being a para is challenging. I mean, it's a challenging job, and we around this table and up there know the rewards of that job. But it's sometimes hard to see the rewards when you're in it, right? So yeah, compensation's gonna help. And so just to speak to some of the ideas that we have, Mr. Knapp, myself, Dr. Jones, we're going to get together starting probably in October and start to think about how we could recraft our classified salary schedules for the next year. We have to start looking at that. We have to respond to the market right now. And so yes, that money would help, but I think we can maybe restructure some of what we already have as well.
Thank you for looking at it. It's appreciated.
Yep.
I wanted to first say thank you for appending the previous reports. It's helpful to look back and see what your goals and strategies were and what's been attempted, and to look at the growth over time. It's really helpful. And I wanted to actually just ask that question at a broader level. There are so many pieces that were put in place to really support the effectiveness of our staff, as well as recruiting and retaining staff. So, just affinity groups, health clinics, Grow Your Own, the Horizon Awards, mentorships, all these pieces. So we can see growth. It looks like when you look at like the health clinic, it looks like that is getting participation that was in the 300s and 400s a month. Now it's 400 and 500 a month. You can see kinds of these trends. Are you all able to sustain these initiatives as you're continuing to actually have to think about how to do things differently, because we're in this unique period of time?
It's a great question. Yes, we'll find a way, right, Dr. Hubbard?
Well,
That's right.
it's not gone unnoticed. So
It's
I
a
just
challenge, but I think we're all still trying to do what we have to do to get it done every day. And that's what I was actually going to close with, is I just want to remind everybody that last year was this team's first year together. And
you would never know it.
And their roles, right? Their first, other than Dr. Bates was maybe a one-year veteran, am I correct? And everybody else was brand new to their role last year. And so what an amazing amount of work that they've done this year. And I love that they're documenting their growth. They're always full of energy. And I want to remind you all, they're talking about the fun part of their job tonight. There's other parts of this job that are not nearly as much fun from the HR standpoint. But I also want to say that the staffing vacancies are surely not because of lack of trying, because these guys are knocking doors down and doing everything they possibly can. And they take it personally that there are open positions, and they beat themselves up a lot. So I just want to recognize the work of this team, because they really are doing amazing work and doing everything they possibly can to help fill the positions that we have. And it is really hard right now for our staff in our buildings, and we all recognize that. And I think I can speak for all of us when I say it keeps us up at night.
Well, thank you. If there are any other,
Thank you
appreciate all your work.
Yep. Thank you very much.
I did want to note that I've already talked with Sadie. I'm going to set up an interview with her.
I think that's a great idea.
Can she
I'm
do the
on it.
splits too?
And Clara?
Oh my gosh.
Was it Clara?
Yeah,
Clara
right?
too, yes.
Yeah.
She's secondary.
She'll
Jeremy will
wanna be
take
a
care of
math
that.
She'll be a great math teacher.
Bonus points if she can do the splits.
That's right. Thank you. All right. So now this brings us to 3.3. I tried to jump ahead before, to student athletic participation and student discipline hearing update.
Sure. I'm going to
Thank
let you
you.
get fired up here.
Good evening, and thank you. And I think my feelings were just hurt as HR just bailed out on me. So, hopefully that doesn't really mean anything. I do have two updates for you tonight. Obviously, the topics are athletics participation and student discipline hearings. those are kind of two completely different things. In those regards, before I kind of start with some of just the data points that are there to review, and we'll be looking at the trends over the last several years, I do want to point out that with our athletic participation, that it is tied to our strategic plan objective. And that objective is that every student will develop interpersonal skills to be engaged, to be an engaged, empathetic member of the local and global community. In my written report, I did include an article that I came across during the pandemic, and I thought that it meets that objective very, very well. There are numerous studies that focus on all types of participation benefits, but what sometimes goes unappreciated is the impact that high school athletics has on students after they graduate. And if you take a look at that article, and I'm not going to go through all of it, 3 of the most important participation takeaways that students continue to practice after graduation are: 1, a stronger sense of self-confidence in building relationships with others and having an expanded capacity for empathy. Again, tying right back to one of our main objectives in the strategic plan. And 2, developing a better understanding of self, and in so doing, understanding how their actions affect others. And 3, building foundations for lifelong fitness habits. So these next few slides that I want to be able to show you before we put them up there, because they are just data points. Obviously, we did have a couple years affected by the pandemic. But right now, we are seeing our participation numbers improving, and we're showing those, some of those we'll show to you in the fall participation rates. So these next few slides, first group are all high school participation. High school I have broken down for you in the 3 seasons, fall, winter, and spring. So this right now is 7 years worth of fall participation rates. This is the only one that I have for you tonight that includes the current school year, 22-23. And so you'll see there was the dip after 1920. We were okay in the fall, and then it dipped the following year, and we are slowly coming back from that. So right now we are at 2,039 athletic participants across our district for the fall. Our next few slides are the winter participation and spring participation. Again, these are previous school years because obviously those haven't happened yet. But the trend was kind of there again, that it bounced around a little bit, and in 1920, we saw a drop off to 2021. We're already seeing that last year come up, and we would expect that to potentially come up again this year. Although our winter participation is our lowest participation time because we don't have some of those that are non-cut sports at the high school level. So a lot of times those numbers stay static. So when we see a number drop, it means we've lost kids that were normally participating. Those should be more of a flat line because there's only X number of basketball players that you can put out on a basketball court. And the number of teams that we typically have at a 6A level stay pretty level at the high school scene. Our next one is our spring participation. Again, these numbers should increase because of things like track and field, other things where we do not put a limit on the participation rates that are there. We saw a big jump from 2021 to 21-22 in those regards, where there's almost a 250 person increase in that participation. And we're seeing that again here in the fall, which sometimes mirrors the spring. So these next ones that I have for you are in reflection of our middle school participation rate. We don't have the same seasons, so they are broken down for you by year. Again, we have the pandemic years, but we also have this year 7th grade basketball that should have a positive impact. So over the past several years, going back to 2016-17, you were seeing a steady increase. That obviously changed during the pandemic years, and we lost an entire year of participation for our middle school. Last year, we came back. with 1,181 students, and I can tell you we are already above that for the two sports that we have right now. In volleyball and cross country, both of our numbers are exceeding what they did last fall. But we'll have to wait to see how that trend continues. So again, as I told you on athletic participation, our rates continue to show increases in levels for 22-23, and we're hopeful to see those rates fully recover to pre-pandemic levels. The fall season participation show that strong interest, and we continue to encourage participation as research consistently shows that achievement and participation in our school programs go hand in hand for our students' success. The next update that I have for you is a little bit different topic. So discipline in regards to, and a graphic that I have here for you is with our strategic plan, there was strategy 2.1.3, and that was the discipline matrix. I was not a part of that, but when that was implemented and finished, we were not able to implement that. So last year was the first year that we provided information to all of our administrators across the district and implemented the student discipline matrix. That does not directly tie to student discipline hearings, but it also might be reflective of what some of the consistency or different things that are going on across our district. And what you'll notice here, these are basically levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll see that in the student handbooks. But in regards to student discipline hearings, we are seeing that where those are level 3 and 4 offenses. And for most of them, there's law enforcement or different things that are involved in those too. So I wanted to preempt that before I just show you those trends. And with those trends, they're here. This is 8 years worth of student discipline hearings as they were occurring in the Shawnee Mission School District. You'll notice that each year increased until the 1920 school year when the pandemics closed the schools. Both the 1920 and 2021 school years were affected with this data. And in the 21-22 school year, students returned full-time to our schools. It is noteworthy that the total number of our student hearings in 21-22 were at a low level of 37 for this entire 8-year period. So the type of board policy violation ranges for students that are involved in these formal disciplinary hearings. And for the 21-22 school year, we do have that in my written report that was also submitted to you, that 29 students violated policy JDD, which is basically conduct that endangers the safety of others. We had 5 students violate policy JCDBB, which is our illicit and controlled substances or drugs. And then we also had 3 students, I'm sorry, I just told you the wrong order on that. It was 3 students that did with the JDDA and 5 students that were involved in the weapons or facsimile of a weapon and making a threat thereof. So those are those numbers that I have to provide an update for you there. In those regards, I do want to flip one statistics for you, and I'm just putting that on this last slide, that the majority of our students that are involved in these things are high school age, but we do have 99.967% of our students never go to this process. And I want to congratulate those 99.967%. And if you look at this from, obviously we don't have a lot of kindergartners that go through this still, but our in total enrollment, that's 99.999%. So we are talking less than 1/1000th of a percentile. So we will continue to build relationships, meet the students' needs, and provide the resources for all of our students to be successful. And I can't tell you what the numbers will be. Sometimes these just come to us, but we will always handle them with the utmost respect and the proper due process. And that's all I have to present for you tonight in those regards, but I will take questions if you have them.
All right, thank you. Let's start with Ms. Hembry. I believe you're up.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm intrigued that these are both on your plate. What a fun job you have doing middle school soccer and basketball sometimes and student discipline hearings sometimes. My question, I just am really intrigued by slide 9, the student discipline hearings. And I want to make sure I'm understanding right that while this looks like we've had a pretty big decline in student discipline hearings in 21, 22, that student discipline matrix went into effect as well. So would that, like, have we changed our bar for what receives a student discipline hearing when we did the student discipline matrix?
No, the bar hasn't changed. Gut feelings on some of those, we had a longer honeymoon period in regards to maybe some incidences that occurred last year because students were just really excited to get back to quote unquote normal school. So there was a time period that I wondered, would my phone ring? And it's not like I want it to ring, but, you know, would it? And then they slowly came in. I don't know on those. I mean, when they end up at a hearing, it's because it's a hearing-worthy type of incident that occurred that we need to take a longer and harder look at that.
I would say that it did help, to be honest with you. I was on that committee, and I think that outdated discipline matrix that we'd used for 50-plus years to put this new system and a systematic approach to the way we deal with kids and the disciplinary infractions, I would say that it did have an impact on that. Now, it's impossible for anybody to know. I think we'll continue to see as we gather more data over the next couple of years. But being on that committee and all the times that we met and explaining this and walking through this process with the administration, I would say it was a positive impact.
That's helpful to know. I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
I think there are variants too that this would be a good research topic. Not that I'm looking for one, but in case somebody else is.
Mary is.
There are other variables that, like, for example, with all the ESSER dollars, we have so many social emotional interventions in place, K-12, pre-K-12. And so, you know, does that play a role too? Kids are getting more support. Our school, every school has a full-time social worker. Does that play a role? I mean, and so it's a great question. I don't know that we're going to know an answer until we have multiple years of data to look at, but I also think that those additional interventions have to be supporting this as well.
Helpful context. I'm just remembering it was May of 2020 when we approved that student discipline matrix, which also was a very interesting time in a lot of other ways, so it's hard to parse out what's what. Thank you, and thank you.
Ms. Boynarena.
Yes, I look forward to more data on that as well as things progress. Just a point, my father was a coach at Sumner Academy, retired as a coach there, so when I see the culmination of the data like that, it does my heart good knowing that programs like that make a difference. So thank you for pointing that out for us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you. Yeah. All right, Ms. Borgman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Glaser. We appreciate it. I'm going to ditto the, I'm anxious to see who's going to take on this research project in terms of the discipline matrix. And so who's the lucky person? We'll find out.
I already did my book report. It'll be somebody else's turn.
Mr. Glaser, I'm going to echo exactly what you said about the importance of athletics and activities in our schools. I think it brings kids together who may never otherwise connect with each other. I think it breaks down barriers, and it keeps kids motivated to stay in school, and plus it just builds community. I can't tell you how awesome it is to hear the kids at Shawnee Mission West soccer games just going crazy over their teams, and then just the Friday night lights of the football games and the volleyball games, and you know, so it's athletics and activities provide a very special, you know, sense of community for kids. So I'm going to ditto that. I think just kind of a little bit of a left turn with regards to sports and athletics and activities. Oftentimes, just because I am in the bleachers, you know, we are very much involved in athletics in my home. I'll have parents share with me, gosh, we had a really bad experience in XYZ sport. And I will often say, well, did you talk with a coach about it? Because I've been trained by the superintendent. And there's often a fear. I can't talk to the coach because I'm afraid that my kid's going to get cut, or, when Sally Sue comes up, Sally Sue will get cut. And so I'm not sure if program evaluations have ever been considered district-wide, but I'm wondering if that might be a good way for athletic directors, for yourself, to just get some real feedback. That might be a safe environment for parents and players to perhaps share thoughts and feelings regarding their experience.
Okay. Yeah, that is something that we could look at, and I wish I could tell you, I've been in this a long time. That has always been, in my opinion, a misconception that the last time I checked, we do not, and I do not want to employ coaches that are going to be vindictive against a kid or a parent because they brought up a concern. But it is something that sometimes doesn't allow us to hear everything that may be out there, because that has existed almost for eternity, it seems like. But it is not the case. And in some of those, if you ever do hear those, I'd encourage them to go to our athletic directors. And they would help in that sense as well, be able to bridge some of those together. I've had a lot of those conversations in offices throughout the years, but it always goes back to the student too. We need the student to feel comfortable in what they're participating in. Sometimes students and parents aren't on the same page, and that's okay too. But we have to keep all of that in perspective and be able to listen and make sure that our students are taken care of.
Thank you.
Ms. Owsley.
So CASHA governs more than just the athletics, right? They also govern other extracurriculars, like debate, or is it band, or some, the whole spectrum, correct?
Yes, all of it.
So one of the things we discussed when we were creating the legislative platform was this idea that because the correlation between participation in activities and the success of the student, both academically while they're in school and then their success outside of school, when you're talking about being college and career ready, like the number one predictor for college success is participation in extracurricular activities. And about how that, with regards to CASHA, their governing principle is, they're serving the whole child to make sure that child is prepared for success outside of high school when they graduate. And just reiterating from CASHA's mission statement that the benefit of those activities is that they provide this sense of inclusion and belonging, which is part of our mission here, so that students feel that like they are a member of their community. It provides motivating factors for them to participate. It gives them life skills. But how that it's really important for all children to be able to have access to that. So we talk about, not every kid, certainly most of the kids aren't going to get a sports scholarship, but it's so important for them to be able to participate and have those life lessons and that opportunity for that foundation for success. And so thank you for providing us with the presentation this evening, but I just wanted to reiterate for folks that what CASHA does is not just about getting kids ready for college competition. It's not just about the competition. It's about the benefit, the holistic benefit for every student that participates in an extracurricular activity. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for your report. I have a question for each of the presentations. In regard to seeing the athletic participation rebound, I think that's very exciting, and I hope that trend continues. Do we have access to information on trends in participation in the activities piece, that other extracurricular component? Do we know if that took the same kind of hit?
We do, in regards to every year during each season, we submit our numbers to CASHA. And those are participation rates for everything that CASHA oversees. So our instrumental music, our vocal music, student council, cheerleading, dance, all of those pieces. The one data point that we were showing you, though, is when we start to look at some of those other numbers, we would be counting the students more than one time, because you could be out for band, you could be, and now to show a trend line of participation, the athletic is one that's kind of just broken away so that we typically do not have very many. It is possible, but we don't have dual sport athletes. We can. But for the most part, we're showing a trend line of who's becoming involved. But that is not to diminish any of our other programming. But it's harder to look at trend lines of how many kids are participating. But we can get those numbers. It's just a reality that we're counting those kids more than once.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I was just curious if, I mean, I wouldn't want, I'm not trying to, I just was curious if we had if the participation rates and activities kind of took a similar hit, was I guess where the question was coming from, but I appreciate the
So we have a
challenges.
program eval for visual and fine arts in January, and I'm sure that will include those numbers.
Talk about
in there.
that. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. And then my other question was kind of, I think it was somewhat already brought up. To what extent is the new kind of discipline matrix related to the number of hearings that we're seeing? Is that something that you all, I guess it's a Dr. Hubbard question, is that something that becomes part of the conversation with administrative leadership in getting feedback on how that matrix is being used, if it's not being used, but if it's, you know, concerns or questions about it from other administrators or its effectiveness or?
I think one of the biggest pieces that it's brought us is consistency. And so when students' behaviors, whatever that may be, I think we're treating it very similar. And so we're approaching it, and within our principal meetings and administrative meetings, we're having those types of discussions, and they're open discussions. They're not in a silo anymore like it was for many, many years when it came to discipline. And so we're giving examples. We're doing in-baskets with the principals, with associate principals, and so discipline is not becoming something behind the curtain. It's something we're all talking about. And I think
fantastic.
the more we talk about it and the more consistently we approach it, and the most important piece is that relationship and the resources we're providing and involving the families as well. And so all of those components in our training, again, not to reiterate it, but I do believe it made a big impact.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Mr. Stubblefield, anything you want to add?
Yeah, there is some calibration with principals. If an incident happens in their school and they reach out to Dr. Sherman or another director at the elementary level, there is some calibration in terms of, you know what, we've had this situation before. This is kind of how we handled it with this school, very similar. And so those conversations do take place, and that collaboration is there.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Am I remembering right? I think Dan Grubin presented, I think it was part of our ESSER funding application or something. It was like he was actually, it had all these bubbles, and some of them are, do you remember this?
I do.
He was starting to actually put together data from Skyward about whether disciplinary infractions were like being consistently coded and consistently doled out. So I think it seems like he's collecting some stuff.
So I have that schedule pulled up. I believe we are on for May. So Dr. Grumman had that
so
the
cool.
past May. It'll be on the May rotation pretty much every annually.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Ms. Goodburn.
All of my questions have been answered.
All right. Dr. Hubbard, anything else?
No, thank you, Kent. Appreciate
Yeah.
information.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
Okay, so we have the remaining discussion items are policy revisions, so 3.5 to 3.9, and Dr. Hubbard or Ms. Goodburn, I don't know if you want to, how you want to proceed through these.
So I would be glad, unless, Sarah, you want to? All right, so the first one, I just want to remind everyone, this is just a first read, and if you have any feedback between now, and we won't actually approve these until the second meeting in October, because the October 14th, if my dates are right, is a workshop, and so it wouldn't be until the second meeting in October. So we have about a month here. I will say that most of these are, well, I'm going to go through them individually, but if it was a policy due to a law change, we're already implementing those. So it's not like we're behind we're okay on timeline to approve them in October. So policy DB, which is 3.04, is around budget planning. And this is a KASB recommendation that we must do a needs assessment. And as you all know, we did a needs assessment, and that is on our website. And this policy really reflects all of that. The second one is policy DC, which is annual operating budget. Again, this is a KASB recommendation of additional language, and it's new language for policy DC that's based on the above policy DB. So there's just added language that correlates to policy DB above. The third one, 3.06 IDAE, which is around student privacy. This is a KASB recommendation also, which reflects changes to the Kansas Student Data Privacy Act. It addresses student surveys and requires parents to opt in. We were already doing that through our online verification process, but this is just reflected now in policy. Policy JBC is a KASB recommendation for additional language for the requirements of House Bill 2567, which allows part-time students to attend in the district. We were already allowing part-time students in the school district to attend, so again, this is not really a change other than we just correlated the language to the House Bill 2567. JBE around truancy. Again, this is another KASB recommending additional language to reflect the requirements of House Bill 2567 again. It builds in more flexibility to exempt students from truancy requirements if they have a high school equivalency credential or attending private schools. This policy is not something that really pertained to us. We weren't following the things in here, but our policy is up to date or will be as a reflection of this. And we did review this policy with our directors of elementary and secondary education, as they primarily are the ones that handle truancy with the principals. And then policy KBA is the final one, is district and school websites. Again, a KASB recommendation for additional language to incorporate some legislative changes requiring of the posting of items on the district website, most of which we were already doing anyway, unless it were things like the needs assessment that were new to us specifically in this budget cycle. So those are the policies. I would be glad, and I know Sarah and Heather and Jamie also could potentially answer questions as you may have them.
So this is what I'd like to propose. I'm assuming if I'm missing some parliamentary process, you'll let me know. I'm looking at you, Sarah, as the expert here. But I just want to kind of go through if there are any quick questions on any of these policies. So I'm just going to kind of look down the dais. On DB, are there any questions? Okay. On the annual operating budget. I do have a question about the student privacy policy. Is the language, this is IDAE, the language added here, is this verbatim from state statute? Or were there some changes in which I will look a little closer? So do we know if
I think it tracks the language from the statute as
I think
KSB
it's
drafted.
verbatim.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing that I believe we changed is it only talked about kindergarten through 12th grade. And to be consistent with the rest of our practices, we added pre-K. But I think other than that is verbatim.
Okay. Does anybody else have questions on that? Okay. The student admissions, any questions? I had one quick one on that too. Maybe I'm just doing this for me, sorry. The admitting the part-time student, is there a financial component to that? Like, are they billed a prorated amount? I apologize if I missed that in the description here.
It's not in the policy, but we do receive partial funding. Is that your question?
Yes.
On the percent of time that they are enrolled.
Okay. All right. Any questions on truancy? Okay, or on district or school websites? Okay. All right, great. Thank you. That brings us, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would just add that there's a lot of policy here. But if you'll recall, in June and July, KASB sends us the entire revisions. So we will likely have another round of this after our next policy review committee. But again, most of them are just pretty minor semantic changes.
Yeah, and again, these are first reads, so we're not going to look at second reads. So if anyone thinks of something over the next, number of weeks, contact Dr. Hubbard.
Okay. Thank you to the policy committee and to our in-house counsel for this work. Appreciate it. Okay, so consent, we are on consent items. Unless I have a request to remove any item, I'm seeking approval for items 4.1 to 6.2.
So moved, Owsley.
Second, Goodburn.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, we have 4 action items. The first one, approval to renew Cisco SmartNet. Oh, did I miss something?
Consent bond would be included.
6.2, yeah.
Okay, so Cisco SmartNet, this is a capital expenditure. It's part of our 5-year infrastructure maintenance and refresh plan. And it will be financed at our capital outlay.
Move approval, Hembry.
Second, Owsley.
All right, all in, do we need discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. 6.2, approval to renew the medical insurance program with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City.
So
Again,
moved.
just,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So move, Goodburn.
Second, Owsley.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Election of delegate to KASB Delegates Assembly.
I nominate Brad Stratton.
All right, he has agreed.
Second, Borkman.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
He's never going to miss a meeting again.
He already agreed. He already agreed.
And they do ask for at least one alternate. Ms. Owsley, would you agree to serve as alternate?
Yes.
All right, do I have a motion?
I move to accept Heather as the alternate.
Second?
Second, Boyd Nerona.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, our last action item, approval to accept the option to purchase the district cell tower lease. Dr. Hubbard.
So yeah, this is providing a communication easement on the southwest corner of the CTC building. And we are recommending the approval to accept the option of the agreement for the easement for $878,000.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved, Hembry.
All right.
Second, Goodburn.
Second. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, thank you. And that leaves us with board comments. Ms. Boyd Nerona, could you lead us off on board comments?
As a cybersecurity professional, I just have to mention a report before, it wasn't tonight, about the cybersecurity and phishing and the importance of that in our everyday operations of emails, on our phones, laptops. Some of you all are shaking your heads. It's just a thing for me, really important to be diligent, and I appreciate the district for taking note of that in the ICT area.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Borgman.
Yes, so I was very moved by the superintendent report and just the incredible things happening in our district. I loved the Read Across SMSD featuring students at Shawnee, specifically Natasha and Daniel, and also kind of tying into the HR report with Grow Your Own and students who are in programs within Shawnee Mission that might, get them into the teaching field. And so a personal story, we, as you all know, on the board, we have a foreign exchange student with us from Chile, and she is part of a class at Northwest that they go into class, the classes and help teachers. And so she was helping in a kindergarten class, and there was a student who had just moved here from a Spanish-speaking country, and the teacher was, trying to communicate as best as she could, and obviously there was a language barrier, and so our foreign exchange student was really able to connect with this little kiddo in a very special way, and they've since really created this special bond. And so, you know, it is really special how our secondary students are really able to connect with some of the younger students in a way that we may not have anticipated. And so it just was a really special, you know, it was special to hear our foreign exchange student talk about it, and also in relation to everything tonight. We have 2 foreign exchange students, to my knowledge, who are from Chile. And yesterday, one is at Shawnee Mission Northwest and one is at Shawnee Mission West. And yesterday marked the a special holiday for Chileans that begins their independence from Spain. So I love the diversity in this district. I love that we are so inclusive and welcoming to students from around the world. So very special place.
Thank you. Ms. Owsley.
I just want to thank the leadership team at Shawnee Mission North. Dr. Higgins was here earlier, and then Principal Yours has been here previously and is not here tonight. But this weekend with the 100-year anniversary at North was just phenomenal. I know Sarah's never missed an opportunity to be selling booster gear, so I saw a lot of her over the weekend. But it was so nice to be able to celebrate 100 years of the district with so many community members, and to reflect on how far we've come and how really phenomenal the future looks for Shawnee Mission. I think we have a really unique and special community, not just in the North area, but as a district as a whole. And then I'm sure Ms. Hembry is going to mention this, but I'm really looking forward to going to the foundation breakfast in person this year, and seeing the performances from the kids in the choir, and seeing, well, just seeing people and breaking bread together, and celebrating what I'm sure will be fabulous scholarship announcements and whatever the special thing is that we're not allowed to know about. So it's not too late to purchase tickets. If you do want to purchase tickets, of course, if you're not able to make it, you can always still give money to the foundation. They will take any amount, and I will pass it over to Mary at this time. Thank you.
Well, I have to say it was really fun to have our elementary students back in doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I know I missed the Highlands group last time, but it just makes me smile to have them here. It's fantastic. So thank you to our Corinth crew for coming tonight. And then I'm just going to put out a push for folks to make informed vote. There's going to be lots of policy forums, and I ask that we all consider public education when we go to the ballot box, whether for state or judicial or our AG. There's lots of positions that impact public education, and I ask you consider those in your votes. And votejoco.com is a great nonpartisan site that gets lots of participation from all sorts of candidates. So thanks.
I'll be quick. I was just, Heather, you stole my thunder, but that's okay. That's okay. Dr. Higgins, Mr. Ewers, I was just going to say thanks to all their planning and to the administrative, all their work on the 100th weekend. It was just fabulous. And I also wanted to say, I thought it was so great that all of the other schools in the Shawnee Mission community did that nice video. That was so touching to see that, and really a testament to our one Shawnee Mission. So thank you to everyone who took the time to do those little messages. It was awesome. So thank you. It was a great weekend. It was really well attended and really fun for a lot of people. So thanks.
It's been a long meeting. Everyone go home, and thank you for all the work for the night.
All right, I think that's everybody. So meeting is adjourned. We'll see you all again October 10th.